Good evening. What's happening, everybody? Good Sunday evening to all of you. Thank you for dropping in, those of you who are already here, and a hearty good evening to those of you who haven't arrived yet and will be slowly trickling in. Appreciate having you all here. Good evening to those of you watching on Rewind. I appreciate you as well. As I have mentioned in the description of tonight's broadcast, for those of you, pretty much all of you, who do not bother to read those descriptions, tonight is the first episode in what I hope, it's a hard hope, what I hope will become a recurring series of episodes, of an ongoing series. That is focused on commission collecting. And the reason, quite simply, that I decided I wanted to do that, you regulars know that I've been saying for a long time, ever since I did my, I don't know, I think it was the third or fourth roundtable episode, over two and a half years ago, about commission collecting. I've been saying it was a fantastic episode. I love that. Such a great show, and I've been wanting to do more ever since, but we never did get around to doing any more, you know. And so again, recently I thought that I would try to put one together. I had a couple of people who, you know, one guy who about a couple of years ago said he had a story. Not a good story, but he had a story to tell about commission collecting. He wanted to kind of tell. And I said, well, you know, I'll have you on the next time that I do a show on commission collecting. And we never did one until now. So I did reach out to him. And as it turns out, he wasn't able to make the date. So that was that. And then I had another collector who also reached out to me saying he wanted to be on the show about commission collecting because he also had a story, not a good one, and he really kind of wanted to get the story out there. And I first of all warned them that this show is not about blasting people, so it can't just be about that, you know. And that's what it seemed like he was heading towards. But that, you know, we could certainly talk about it and figure something out and have him on. So I then invited him on. And then it turns out that he didn't realize when my show starts on Sunday, and he said he had a show that goes until 9 o'clock, and so he couldn't do it. And so I said, you know what? Ultimately, I still want to do something on this date, commission related. Time was running out. I didn't have any more time to reach out to you know, I don't really know commission collectors who aren't also published art collectors, all right? So those are the kind of people that I'd like to get as guests on this show. So for those of you who know people like that, who are primarily or only commission collectors, please reach out to them and tell them about this. Point them to this episode, perhaps, and tell them that I would love to hear their stories. I mean, it's basically going to be a series about me wanting to put their stories out there, you know, the stories behind the art. And we will certainly show some art, but I don't want anybody to get the idea that this is a show and tell. This is just one small way where I can put more content out, hopefully without me having to do too much prep work before the show, you know, goes live. And so if you guys can reach out to anybody you know who fits the bill, would really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do more shows like this. But in the meantime, for now, since I was running out of time anyhow, and I decided that I'll start with somebody we do know. And of course, that is Shaun Clancy, the man himself. And yeah, let me bring him in. He needs no introduction, clearly. What's up, Shaun? How's it going?
I'm muted.
How you doing?
I'm good. Right.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here again.
So I want to make sure I understand this. So I'm third choice, right? Not fourth?
So say again?
From the story I just heard, someone turned you down, another person turned you down, and then you got me. Okay, I just want to make sure I know where I'm at.
Well, no, technically, because these guys had reached out to me, and they've never been on the show before, that that is the type of collector I want. I mean, listen, I want to get people that I do know who also collect. People. If I've had them on the show before, I'll have them on again if it's because they are also commission collectors. But I just wanted to try to start off with people we haven't seen before. Just to get new blood into the studio, basically, right? And I figured since these two guys had reached out to me instead of the other way around, I thought, well, fantastic. Like, they're reaching out to me. Great. I'd love to have you on, Yeah, but then since it didn't work out, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to first start off with people that I know. And in that sense, you are my first choice, Shaun.
There we go. There we go.
Look at that.
There's a backhanded compliment. Thank you.
No. And I don't know about you, but for me, the camera keeps getting blurry. Are you seeing blurriness?
On you, yes. How about me? No.
Interesting. Okay, because now I've looked like I've gotten clear, but now you're blurry.
I am.
Yeah, it's really strange.
How about for the audience?
Yeah, let's check with the audience. What's up, everybody? So many comments. Can't get to them all, unfortunately. Geez, there wasn't that many comments like when I started talking 5 minutes ago. Mr. Red Jack, good to see you. Rickster, good evening to you. Corey Rust, what's up? Hey, my lovely wife. Gotta post you up there for sure. Thanks, hon. And who else we got? Southern Comic Geek in the house.
Okay, cool.
Happy Rec Rap, Marcus. What's going on?
It's Shaun is blurry. Shaun is blurry. Shaun is blurry.
Yeah.
Still?
Are these commissions for your personal collections? Where do you get these? Are there lines? What?
Still blurry?
Yeah, it's kind of like, now it just got worse for a second, but it's I would call it pixelated more than blurry, but I guess it's kind of a cross between the two, Alonso Collectibles. What's good, man? What's good?
Yes, everything is showing up fine here. So I'll check my Wi-Fi router.
Okay.
Okay. Everything looks good here.
Don't be doing anything silly now. What's up, Dwayne?
I won't leave.
Yeah. Stingray, what's going on? There won't be any ugly because people are too scared. But you know what, Marcus? It's funny because originally the plan was to make it the good, the bad, and the ugly every single episode, right? And then what happened was, these things sometimes do, accidentally, Shaun mistook the meaning of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he actually thought that it referred to commission quality, that, commissions you got back, and when you got them back, you thought, this didn't turn out as good as I wanted. This is kind of uglier. He was thinking it was about the commission quality, as opposed to what I was thinking was more about what you're thinking, Marcus, the story of how the commission came to be. And, did you go through a lot of trial and tribulation with the artist or the art representative, right? But then, because he had made that inadvertent mistake, I realized, you know what? That actually is a good thing for me, because I realized not everybody is going to want to, like you say, be brave enough to sort of call out the artists who they've had, bad stories with, bad experiences with. But Shaun has now shown me that the subtitle can also absolutely refer to just whether you're happy or not, with the quality of the commission. And let's face it, commission collecting is a crapshoot. A lot of commission collectors, if you've been around for any number of years, you do get commissions back that you're really less than pleased with, and yeah, it's not a so. And I think most collectors are certainly a lot more willing to talk about that and admit that they weren't too happy with the quality of the commission, as opposed to telling the details of something that went wrong with a given artist. Ryan Diaz, what's up? Hey, what's going on, Jason? Good to see you. Lee, good to see you. And who else we have here? Let me jump ahead. It's a Stingray, Lee, Jason. Yes. Hey, Caesar, what's going on? CJ, of course. Let's see. Everybody saying hello to each other. Hey, there's another one. Peter Rowe, what's good? Good to see you, my friend. And even though you're just saying hello to Lee. And hey, Carl's here. Wow. Early tonight, Carl. Good to see you. Let me see. Who else? Peter, no, Carl. Yeah, it's all everybody just saying hi to each other. That's how we get up to like 90 comments so quickly, you know? Everybody just conversing with each other. A comment pointed at me. Ruben is good about making his guests feel good. Shaun is my 20th choice, but he's here tonight. He was my first choice. Remember, the first two guys, they weren't my choice. They reached out to me to ask if they could be on, which I love. I want people to do that to save me time. Yeah, no, Shaun was my first choice. And let me see who else. Marcus again. Everybody. Yeah, Shaun. Okay, all the blurry comments. Shaun's 56K mode is hot. That's a good one. I love that. He's looking pretty good now, though. You're looking good now, Shaun. I think it's gotten a lot better. So that's good. And let me see. Oh, what's happening? Jerome. Hello, just dropping in to press the like. Will catch on me. Wow, okay. Sorry you can't stick around, dude. But thanks for dropping in and hitting the like, man. Yeah, everybody, please, if you could just hit the thumbs up button there, right underneath Shaun. Thumbs up. Yeah, that'd be great. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Let me see. Who else? Jewish Dragons in the house. Changing the lighting helped a bit. Okay. Whatever works. We're happy, you know. Let me see. Oh, I can show ugly pieces and ugly stories. Both. Caesar, listen, I don't know how I'm gonna do it because I don't really know any collectors that are really predominantly or only commission collectors. I need to get the word out about the show, and you know, to have the word reach those people so they can reach out to me. And that typically doesn't seem to happen. So I can see me ultimately reaching out to more of you guys who have been on already, which is great anyways, but I would love it if it'd be at least a mix of newer people and we haven't seen before, you know. But I'll have you back for a show like this. I also would like to have a show like this with 2 or 3 commission collectors. We could all shoot the shit about, you know, the same questions and you know, we see the differences between us all and what we all think about certain aspects of commission collecting, you know. So let me see. Hey, what's up, Tom? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Wells. Shaun is clearer. Yes, thank you. Art was just telling me about the list of deadbeat commission artists that folks used to keep a list of. I was shocked at some of the people that were on it. Listen, Ian, there is a guy and I haven't really heard from him in years, to be honest, but I think he's still around. Terry Maltos. He actually built a site. Marcus probably remembers the name of it. I can't at the moment. But he built a site, a website, where you could see the names of the artists and stories from commission collectors telling you about their experiences. So, yeah, there you go. And yes, sir, Rickster, I know you'd say that. We'll talk about that one later, too, for sure. B&G, what's going on, Steve? We get the Walter Simonson piece live tonight. We do. Well, I mean, live in the sense that I will show it on screen. I believe that, Shaun, you do not have the Simonson with you, correct?
No, he still has it at his place.
Oh, he still has it? Yeah. Oh, he still has it. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Okay. Is there any reason behind that?
Well, we can start to get into that if you want.
I'm going to save it for later. Because that's a good story. It's a great commission. So that'll be part of the good. So I was thinking, maybe we'll tackle a little bit of bad and ugly, right? Since I do have a few images we can show the crowd. And yeah, we'll do it that way. I think I've caught up with the messages in any case, so let me take one last look. Many I would commission right now just don't want to wait 3 years. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, and everybody, you're going to be seeing a little bit of a different layout tonight at times. So hopefully it works well. And yeah, hopefully it works well, and hopefully if it does, hopefully you like it, and you can let me know if you like it or not. But yeah, Shaun, let's get right into this. Actually, I was thinking for the first thing that we could talk about, if you don't mind, I wanted to talk about what I call the Bob Layton theft story.
Sure.
Would that be cool?
Sure. I don't remember the specific issues and titles, so you'll have to remind me what I sent you. But I've been working with Bob Layton since probably 2002, and I met him through I think it was he was doing some donations to some charity in Florida with Don Perlin, and I got a hold of him through that. So I got a commission that way, and then we started doing some recreations. So since then to today, I probably have over 100 recreations by him, and they're usually of the Iron Man stuff he's done. I would say about 3 or 4. It was after COVID, and I say 3 or 4 years ago. I usually get them in 3 batches. I usually get three recreations or 3 commissions at a time. And that, at this point you're talking about, I got 3 that he did, and he does them quick. He spends like, I think his rule of thumb is 1 day a piece,
right?
For the rate we settled on. So 3 recreations was 3 days, and then he would have FedEx come by his. He lives in Florida. Come by his office, pick up the package, and bring it to me. And on this specific package, 3 weeks had gone by, and I had asked him, "Are you sending? I thought you were sending the pieces," and he said, "I did. I thought you got them by now." So we looked online, found out FedEx didn't pick them up, and he checked with his neighbors, and his neighbors said, because he left them at the door of his office, he leaves them in the hall of his complex. He lived in a condo complex, and someone had come by and taken the package. So I never got them. So he redid them and sent them to me. And so the pieces you'll probably be showing are the ones that were stolen. And none of them are exact. I mean, even the ones he redid for me changed slightly from the ones he's about to show. So there's always something a little different with each recreation he's done. Even though he's done multiple copies of several of his covers, there's always seems to be a little difference.
A little bit of difference. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Welcome, Taco Force 157. First time here. It's not a secret meeting. It is not a secret meeting. But welcome. Okay, so let me show. Why don't I show the human fly cover that got stolen here?
Sure.
Let me do this, everyone. All right, here it is for the first time, peeps. Oh, showing artwork while we stay on the screen. Look at that. Wow. How is that? Looks pretty good, right?
Yeah. Oh, and you switched us up. Look at that.
And I switched you up because they look at the orientation of where my body is pointing. It looks better because it looks like I'm kind of looking at the art, and you kind of look like you're looking up at the art too. So it's perfect.
Yeah. I can't remember the year on that. Does it say on the commission?
Yeah. So this is a 2018.
Oh, it was before COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, long time already, right?
Yeah. Time does fly. And he was the original inker on that cover. He wasn't the artist, if I remember right.
I actually feel. See, I think he was the artist, and in
was
fact,
he on that one? Okay.
Yeah, I used to own the original actually.
Okay. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So yeah. Did I send you the ones he redid for me? Maybe you want to see.
Well, you know what? You did.
Okay.
Except so just so all of you know, the only drawback to this new sort of system of layouts that I can do, the drawback is it allows me to only upload 10 images at once. And in order to upload another one, I've got to delete other ones, you know?
Okay.
But so initially I had initially uploaded the one he redid. But as I popped them up on the screen as I was practicing, they looked identical to me from at this angle. So it's kind of like I was like, okay, well, there's no point in showing you showing everybody the 2021. But you know what? Let me do that. Let me do that. Okay?
I can just tell you that the logo and all the text on there is all paste-ons. So
even the logo.
Yeah, the logos. Yeah, correct.
These days he prints it on.
Yeah. Well, no, these were pasted on.
Okay.
These were cut and pasted on. These were not on the. Sometimes some of the Iron Man covers, they're all on the background of a print. Yes, but this was most of my recreations have paste overs from him.
Okay.
And there you go. See the hatchwork on the mountains? You see how darker they are right there? There's not a lot of spacing between them. If you go back to the previous one, you'll see the spacing on the hatchwork on the mountains is different. See?
All right.
So he'll do stuff a little either quicker or, maybe he was using the Vinicoletta, brushing on the, the thick brushes to try to get more shadow on them on the one I actually did get. But you'll notice there's slight differences.
Yeah. And I guess it's a way, because it's a very, doing line for line recreations is absolutely tedious. There's no creativity involved. So I can understand why an artist would kind of switch things up and do things a little bit differently, as long as it on the whole looks pretty similar, So I'm not surprised, but I'm curious though, Shaun, when you first started commissioning him on the cover recreations, did he tell you, hey, just so you know, I don't do line for line, there will be differences, or did you ask him, hey, can you do me a line for line recreation? Like, how did it happen?
No, I usually leave it up to the artist most of the time to see how comfortable they feel. If some artists want to update their covers to today's style, and I'll let them do that.
Right.
I rarely say no. I'd rather have the original cover copied line by line. With Bob, I had seen his commission work, so I trusted his judgment on what he was going to do, and I was very happy. I think it was like Iron Man 127 was the first cover recreation we got done. And then when I was getting commissions, I would say, give me a commission based on the storyline of 127, where he was on the island fighting all these villains. And he would basically take an interior panel and try to recreate it as a commission. And so if I wanted something different than that, like if I had just said, can you give me a commission based on a specific story, he will take an interior panel and try to recreate it and use that as a footprint, unless you specifically ask him not to do that. And so you have to learn from the artists you're working with what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And Bob basically just wants to be a draftsman, not a designer. And so he just wants to use reference material as much as possible, so light boxing and such.
Right.
And that's the way he works. And he, like I said before, he does one a day, so that keeps him quite busy. And if I remember right, our rate up until about 2018 was about $400 a cover recreation, and then it went up to $600 a recreation, and I think the general public's $800. And the only reason I get the better rate is because I've been doing them so long with him, and I do them in multiples.
You're getting them for how much?
At the beginning, it was $400 a recreation. It went up to $600, and I haven't gotten any in a couple of years. So I know at the time he was charging me $600, he was charging the public $800.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And there was, like I said, my rate was because of the volume.
Yeah, because you did so many. You're getting so many done. So that, for sure, you deserve a break for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what he's at now, though.
Sorry?
I don't know what his rate is today, though.
Right.
We haven't talked to him about that ever since he went to Korea. South Korea. I haven't really talked to him about commission work.
Right. All right. Let us show also, since this story is about theft and how 3 commissions, I guess,
and they haven't turned up yet. I've watched for my calf, and they've never showed up, so I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the second one here. Yeah, the 133 cover with the Hulk, the two-part Hulk story. Yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah.
And then you did, I think, my first Iron Man back issue, 151 with the Ant-Man, the half split cover, paneled cover. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I always love this. I love that gleam on Iron Man. It's so beautiful, and it's just the best Iron Man suit ever. By the way,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, if that really, I used to love Iron Man, and ever since the movie came out, I'm just like, I just don't care. Yeah, I really wanted to see this classic armor, on screen. I just wanted to see how they would do it, I'm not a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe armor Iron Man, just because it looks more like a robot than a guy in, like the comics made you believe it was a guy in armor that can bend and fold and whatever, right? And I really was wishing they could have done it that way, but oh well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, there you go.
We can stay on Bob Layton since you have the one that has the ugly.
Yeah, we that's a perfect segue, because that's what I lined up right next to it anyways, Yeah, so speaking of the good, the bad, and the ugly, yeah, we got one. We got a piece here. Okay, is there? Yeah, tell us. There's a little bit of a story behind it. Let me show it. Why don't we show it first? Should I show it first?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. So let me do that. Why don't we go back to this mode and introduce the piece? Take a look, everyone. Woo!
So everybody pretty much knows I use Bob Sharon quite a bit, and Bob Sharon was one of the original colorists on the Iron Man series back in the day. So out of the 100 or so I've done with Bob Layton, this one here, he told me the marker exploded while he was refilling it while over the commission. So that's what happened, and then he tried to fix it and made it worse, and so he gave up on it, and there was no way to clean what you see there. You can't white out and do this and that. So the easier route, as you just saw with the 3 stolen pieces, was just to have Bob Layton redo this commission again. And this one here I actually took and threw up on eBay as a buy it now for $75, and actually sold within an hour. So whoever bought, I even
$75.
Yeah, $75, just get rid of it, And if you turn it over, you can actually see the bleed through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know what that person was going to do. Maybe do a paste over Iron Man. I have no idea.
Honestly, I think my guess would be they just felt like, okay, I know it's something bad happened as an accident, but at $75, big deal. Like, it's just an interesting thing to have, because it's, for $75, big deal. You can't really go wrong. It'll be an interesting talking piece, And in fact, Shaun, I'm actually surprised that you would not that you would get rid of it, but that you would get rid of it at that cheap giveaway price. Because for me, I would personally have rather have held on to it so that I did have a story to tell people, show people, Yeah. Because what's you think about it, what's $75 going to do for your life? You know what I mean?
Well, that was where I was thinning out a lot. I have a lot of cover rough designs. So if I have 1,000 commissions and recreations, some of them have rough cover layouts and approval stuff. So I have tons of artwork. So as is when I was trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff. So I sold this one probably about 2 years ago, after the fact, and that was and $75. I thought it should have sold fast, which it did, and I just didn't want it around to remind me that it had an issue like this.
Okay.
And so what Bob Sharon did was Bob Sharon stepped up and gave me or he could have paid Bob Layton for the piece that was to be redone, or he gave me credit towards future coloring, which is what he did. So that's how we worked out that issue. He took responsibility for it.
Right. Well,
And of all the commission stuff I've gotten with Bob done, I think I've only had 2 issues like this. This one, and I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was a Tom Morgan piece.
yeah.
And otherwise, everything else has worked out pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, see, Tom was saying it's cool to have for a story. That's what like what I said. And then Marcus said he can't bear to see it.
Yeah, me either.
It's too ugly for him. He really wants to be surrounded by pretty artwork.
Yeah.
Hey, no, listen. I mean, like, and you admitted to it. You admitted that it was, it's a bad memory for you, right? So it's just kind of like, okay, I don't want to look at this anymore, kind of thing. Let's just get rid of
and
it.
I didn't want to throw it out, so I thought maybe somebody else could do something with it. Some artist might want to learn from it or something. I don't know. I don't know what that person ever did with it. I never looked up on CAF to see if it's on there. I never even checked.
It may be, it may not. Who knows? Just FYI, is anybody else in the chat? Are you guys seeing Shaun's lag in audio compared to the video? Because I'm getting a lot of lag where I see his mouth moving, but the audio comes after. So it's not aligned. But I'm just curious to see if I'm the only one that it's affecting, or if it's all of you. But let me know in the comments. I just needed 1 or 2 of you to say yes or no. No lag, just blurry. Interesting, Rick said.
Blurry. Wow.
See? Wow. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I'm getting your audio first. I heard you say blurry. Wow. And only then, after you finish saying it, that I see you move your mouth. Interestingly enough. Yeah. So okay. Well, whatever. It is what it is. We got a. Kagi said video quality and audio is off now, but both probably connection related. Okay. Yeah, Mike. What's up, Mike?
I can always leave and come back if you want.
Nah. Don't worry about it. Yeah, there's a lag. Okay, for some people, yeah. For some people, no. That's weird. Maybe a slow connection. Yeah. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, I know that Shaun's not plugged in. He's on Wi-Fi. So usually when we experience these types of issues, more often than not, it's going to be people using Wi-Fi rather than being plugged in, which is why I always prefer being plugged in if you can. But hey, sometimes we can, so it's okay. It's all good.
This laptop doesn't have a plug-in, so that's the only reason and I think I have a Commodore 64 here. I could try
a Commodore 64. That's hilarious. Wow. Yeah, Jason's asking a good question. Is there anybody else at your place that's also using the Wi-Fi?
The only other thing is my phone. I was just about to shut it off to make sure.
Okay.
But no, I'm the only one at the office right now. But we just changed the router like Friday to a new one, so that's why I was surprised to hear that.
Oh, okay. Exact Recreation. What's up, Matt? Matty. Exact Recreations are problematic for me. They strip value from the original and can cause marketplace confusion. I vastly prefer a tribute with a pronounced difference. Oh, I agree. Now I don't get, as you know, I don't get commissions myself, Matt. But when I look at them, the ones that people post, I do agree. I prefer that there be at the very least some sort of difference. And what I really prefer is when they do their own reinterpretation. So, for example, when they substitute this character for that character, but the same exact layout, but, different changes, maybe a different character swapped in and out, that kind of stuff. I find that's kind of more interesting take. But if you are looking at, this type of deal where it's, the original artist doing a recreation, then yeah, I do prefer some noticeable difference if possible, but I guess it's it's a matter of taste. Everybody's different, right?
So I closed some of my back windows, so let me know if anything's improved.
Okay, sure. I've seen an improvement in the lag. There's still a lag for me, but it's gotten a little bit better. At least this time your mouth was moving while I was still hearing the audio, so that's good. At least it's not completely separate like earlier, Can the recreations have clipped corners to make them look like the originals? You can clip them, you can clip them yourself. ask the artist to clip them, you know. Why not make it more authentic, you know? And then guys like Matt would really love it. But yeah, no, that's a crazy accident for it to happen. Especially, I would have thought that most artists just use, you know, throwaway markers. Like they run out of ink and you throw them away and you replace them. You know?
He had a refillable one.
Refillable. Wow. Look at that copy. This hazy red Iron Man image is burned into my brain now. Ruben's audio is not as good as usual. Oh, I know why. Oops. Hello. Does this sound clear, Stanley? Do you hear me very clearly now? It was very far away from me, Stanley. Sorry about that, everyone. If it sounded like I was more echoey and from far away, this is I think the best I can do without having. Okay, here it is. Keeping it off screen. All right, now it's close to me. Hopefully, it sounds good. Artists' reinterpretations of a cover gives us a different take on it. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Lips move and I can't hear what you're saying. Doing the Saren's eye burn. Ruben the corner clipper. Yes, thank you, Stanley. Much better. Yes, it was just very far away. All right. Macro data refinement couldn't do it better. CJ, that's a line you say for hot women. Nice. Okay. All right. Let me move away from this. All right. And let me come back to this. So Shaun, for those viewers who never saw your previous appearances on my channel, can you remind everybody how long exactly have you been getting commissions done? I believe it was since the early 90s, or was it further back?
Let's see, my first piece was 1997.
So late 90s. Okay.
Yeah, it was on my 30th birthday actually, and I had Sheldon Maldoff selling a commission of a Hawkman piece at a local convention. That was the first piece I bought for myself. I had some artwork go through my fingers. I bought and sold, but I never collected it. And so that was the first piece I bought for myself and kept. And then I went through the golden age who were left, golden age artists for the next 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And I got several commissions by them. And I occasionally got a Bronze Age artist that I liked, like Jim Starlin, like I mentioned before. And Jim Starlin was my first Bronze Age artist that I got a commission from. I never went after the Silver Age guys. If I did, it was like a Golden Age artist that actually worked on some Silver Age stuff. Like I had J. Scott Pike working on some Golden Age stuff, but he also did Dolphin in the 60s. And so he would do a Dolphin commission, but he was basically, to me, he was a Golden Age artist. Same thing with Ramona Fradon. She was basically a Golden Age artist that worked a lot in the Silver Age and in the 70s. So I was going through those guys, and what I've learned from experience is their hands start to go
right
in their 70s, and majority of them by 80. I would say if they're 80 years old, there's exceptions instead of the rule, and some of those were like Russ Heath. But even our artists today from the Bronze Age are in their 70s right now. Some of them are in their late 70s or even 80. And so I stopped getting commissions, I want to say 2-3 years ago, based on knowing that fact and moving into published artwork.
Okay.
And I learned that from the Golden Age artists that I was hiring back in the day, like Irwin Hazen and you remember Irwin?
Yeah, for sure. Marcus was wondering, what about the Shelley Moldoff and Jerry Robinson or Martin Odell?
Martin Odell, I never knew Jerry. Jerry was somebody I never got a hold of. I did approach them all, like the oh my goodness, I can't remember the Superman artists. I'm trying to remember who were still around back then.
Kurt Swan?
No, well, he was still alive, but I never got a hold of him. I tried to get a hold of Jim Aparo. I was just working with Jim Aparo, trying to get something going with him, but he passed away during our negotiation. Same thing with John Buscema. But the I can't remember their names now. Several of the well-known guys like Jerry Robinsons and the Dick Sprangs and the
Murphy Anderson.
Well, yeah, Murphy Anderson, but he was pretty busy doing recreations of other people's work.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
I can't remember the two brother-in-laws, the two Superman artist brother-in-laws that did the Golden Age Supermans. But anyways, they wouldn't do them.
Schaffenberger?
No, not Kurt. I knew Kurt. Kurt was sick when I knew him.
So are you talking Silver Age or Golden Age?
Golden Age.
Golden Age. Fred Ray?
Yeah, Fred Ray and his brother-in-law.
Who's his brother?
Who did Tomahawk? Who drew Tomahawk? Do you remember the character Tomahawk?
Jack Sparling?
Was that Jack Burnley? Right?
Jack Burnley. Okay.
Yeah, Jack Burnley and Fred was actually the Tomahawk guy. Well, anyways, Jack Burnley. I tried to get to do commissions, but he was only doing autographed prints. So I tried all those guys, and I couldn't get the big guys like that. So I sent it on to people who weren't as well known or weren't in the comics as long. So I went after the Kelly Frias, like I mentioned before. Kelly Frias recreated Witchcraft 5. Those Bob Lubbers.
Bob Lubbers
was another one I had got several pieces from.
It's funny. I only know Bob Lubbers as a strip artist.
Yeah, which one? Long Sam, or
yeah.
Okay, he also did Tarzan too.
Oh, and sorry, and of course he did Tarzan. Of course, he's one of the Tarzan artists.
Yeah. But Bob started his career in Friction House, so he was doing Fire Air and Wings, and he did a lot of those types of 1940s covers. So he was doing a lot of that stuff for me. So that's how I started. And then I kept going with.
Let me ask you one thing. Sorry to interrupt, man. Because you said something about and because as you noticed, the quality, and you kind of stopped doing them, and then you started getting more into published work. But haven't you been a published work artist, a collector? Also, simultaneously going back to the 90s?
I was buying and selling. I wasn't keeping any of it. So I would buy pieces, the stuff that went through my hands, like I mentioned before, was Special Marvel Edition 15, the first Master Kung Fu. That cover went away, a couple of pages. Marvel Premiere 15 I've had, interior pages too. Avengers Annual 7 for Starlin. I should have kept a lot of that. Frank Miller Daredevils. I had people all over the world buying stuff from me. And most of the times it was either AOL chat rooms or it was eBay. Yeah. eBay in its infancy in the early 2000s. Okay. And so all that stuff. And where I was getting this material was there were local collectors here. There was one specifically who was in the Navy who was based in Virginia, and he would go to Virginia in his time in the 1970s and 80s and buy artwork from people he met at conventions. And he moved here and he was selling the artwork to buy sports cards and sports memorabilia and new stuff, not old stuff. And I kept telling him, I said, you're throwing your money away buying this junk.
Hey, just so you know, I told this story before. In 1990, I sold at a local convention. I sold my very fine plus, really beautiful, almost no Marvel chipping copy of Hulk 1 so I could buy that year's wax boxes of baseball cards. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
So I never even ultimately completed those sets. I had them up until, I want to say 6-7 years ago. And then I launched them off the balcony into a big giant garbage can down here a few years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Just at this point, they were doing stupid stuff like pieces of bats attached to cards and stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of
cloth. Yeah, and this guy was all over that, and so I was trying to talk him out of selling it, to be honest with you, but he wanted the money, and well, anyways, I told him what I was going to do. I told him I wasn't keeping it, and so I was selling the stuff, and it was like I mentioned, it was that Burn X-Men pages, all the classic stuff. And so I did very well with it. And in fact, it financed the start of my business in 2004. So it took a couple of years to sell it all. But by the time 2004 came around, I started up my own business based on the amount of money I was making off of the stuff.
Wow.
And Tom Fish was just on an interview with Bill Cox, I think, the other day, and some of the pieces he showed I had.
Okay.
Like All Star West in 10, I had the cover and the interior out. I got directly from Tony DiZuniga.
Yeah, I remember when you had that. Yeah, and you posted it. Yeah. I
And
remember.
Tom Fish has page 1 from that piece. What I kept was all the thumbnails. So Tony and the writer, John Albano, did the entire script in thumbnail. So Albano was the cartoonist himself, and he did the entire interior. And then Tony DiZuniga did it all on 8.5 by 11s that he just light boxed onto the 11 by 17. So the entire story is all in a notebook of mine and 8.5 by 11 original inked pages. So I kept those.
Okay, that's cool.
So no, I was not a published art collector seriously, probably until about 6 years ago. Not that long ago. Yeah.
Wow. That's nutty. That's nutty. It's weird because it's like my memory. It feels like I knew about the commissions, of course, going back a long time. But my memory is also that like I somehow remember seeing all, like an equivalent sort of like a lot of commissions, but also published art, in your gallery. But I guess not. I guess it was just my faulty memory.
I don't think so. I mean, art would just fall my way, because of this area here. There'd be local collectors who bought pieces from Mike Grell back in the day in the 80s. He'd have Green Arrow pieces. So I would buy them from other collectors that were at our shows, and then I just resell them. And Tom Christopher was Ron Lim's inker, and he showed up at a show here, stacks of pages, because he was doing a remodel on his house. So I was buying covers and pages, and which I flipped, and I doubled my money. And in fact, I regretted doing that, and I went back and bought one of those covers back. So I have one Ron Lim Silver Surfer cover on my calf gallery, and it was one that I had previously owned through Tom that I sold. That's Al Milgrom.
Oh, look at that. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to actually do that. Hey, this is another interesting little layout. We can be on the side here. But sorry. No, that's wild, man. That's, like I said, faulty memory. That's my bad. But interesting story. And how fantastic that it was able to help you launch your business,
Yes. And I went through a second phase of selling the remaining pieces probably around 2006 or so, and I bought my house. So I'd always said to myself, liking comics, because I've gone through phases of buying and selling of comics, that if I wanted to get them back, it would just be a matter of how much I would need to pay these people to buy the stuff back. That's why I kept all those receipts. So when you have a guest on your show and I'm telling you I have a receipt and I sold this guy such and such back in the day, it was because I said to myself that if I ever wanted any of these pieces back, this would be the easiest way to remember who bought it. So I blocked these receipts, and it was just so funny that you had one of those people that was on your show, and it has helped me track down some of the commission stuff I had sold, because not only was I buying and selling published pieces, I was repping artists and selling. Like Rick Welch was just mentioning, he was a big Mike Grell fan, and he was asking for commission work and buying published stuff that was coming out by Mike Grell at the time. And
he said he said earlier he got his first commission through you through you from Mike Grell.
Yeah, and if there were more fans like him, I would have probably kept on it longer. But unfortunately, the requests were quite strange sometimes. And
really,
there was some oddball stuff that I was like, I don't know if I even want to ask Mike if he wants to do this.
You mean like weird sexual type stuff? Or?
Yeah, some of this. It was some real, fantasy stuff that I didn't think Mike would do, so I didn't even bother asking him. I just told him he was turned down. And sometimes you'd have a person complain too. They're like, "Well, this isn't what I imagined," and I said, "Well, this is what you approved. You can't return it." So yeah, and it got to the point where I was trying to help the artists more than I was trying to make money. And I think you and I talked about this before, where I wasn't making any money repping these guys. I was just trying to give them more work. So I was doing Val Merrick at cost, Don Perlin at cost, Paul Galassi at cost, especially Mike Grell, because he was really real close to where I lived. So I went down that road too. But then when I started on my own business, I got way too busy, and I just didn't want to mess with that stuff anymore.
The business took off pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, what happened was my old business was going under, and so I took its employees and customers that I had relationships with, and they all needed someplace to go once my old company went under, and so I got all their business basically without having to pay for it. So that's how we got jump started. So we went from 4 people to 16 people within a year, and now we're 24. So
sorry, what was the last part?
There's 24 of us now.
Oh, you're 24 now?
Yeah. We do commercial heating and air conditioning. So if anybody has a question about heating and air conditioning, go ahead, shoot.
Strictly commercial air conditioning and heating.
Yeah, only because residential is so cutthroat, because they're standing over your shoulder asking you, can you move that floor register over 4 feet, that the one you just cut in? And you're like, man, how do you make money doing this? So we do the big stuff. I mean, one of my first big customers was Starbucks corporate office in '91, before they even started going international. So yeah, we did a lot of big stuff.
Right.
Yes, we did. We do restaurants too. Yeah.
Caesar is saying that he used to buy a lot of the Zuniga Jonah Hex covers from you back in the day.
Yes, he says he still has them.
Yeah.
There was also Mark Halperin, right?
That's right.
Halperin, Mark Haspel.
Mark Haspel, yeah.
Before he, or when he was just at CGC, I think it was right when he joined CGC, because he sold his comics and they said he could buy artwork. I think it was right there when he just joined them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked Caesar to sell them back to me. He won't sell them back to me. Yeah.
Did you ask him?
Oh yeah, I emailed him. He was on your show.
Yeah. But okay, right. But you should know, Caesar. It's like his babies. Those are all his babies. He's like so tied to his commissions and all of his work. Really, yeah. It's not you don't see Caesar selling art very often. I can't remember the last time he sold art. In fact, Caesar, let us know. But I'm sure it's been quite some time.
Well, hopefully it'd be next week.
You're very optimistic, I see, Shaun. Marcus wants to know, does an HVAC business need good Wi-Fi?
No.
What's better, duct tape or duct tape? Good question.
Duct tape, of course, with the T.
What about Duck brand duct tape?
I don't know.
I don't know that I've ever bought any. What's up, Nick? Good to see you. How often should you replace air filters? Is Stanley's question.
In a house, twice a year. Spring.
Twice a year in a house?
Yeah, 4 times commercially. You can live with once a year residentially, but twice a year is recommended, spring and fall.
But that's an air filter for what's he talking about? For the air
probably for a furnace, I would assume.
The air conditioning unit, I guess.
Well, furnace and air conditioner is the same.
Oh, because I'm thinking
we're talking about those wall units, or those wall units you can clean them once a year. You don't have to replace them. They're clean.
I was gonna say, yeah, you typically clean, not replace, right?
Right.
Yeah. Used to own a painting business. Loved commercial. Loved the punch list. Made good money. And then you got into 4 comic shops, right, Tom? You had to go for the fun. Caesar can't unbox them. You expect them? You can't even unbox them. You expect them to sell them? Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe they already bought from me, still in a box. He hasn't even opened it.
Maybe. You never know with him. Hey, what's good, Sonny? The handyman's secret weapon. Do you humidify your rooms to keep comics and art stable? Pretty sure he doesn't. If the house is kept clean, the filter won't need replacing much. Well,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The air that's inside the space. If you're doing laundry or whatever.
Good night, Peter. have to leave because I'm in the middle of moving. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll catch the rest of the show on rewind. Okay, Peter, thank you. Have a good one and good luck with the move. Okay, let me see. Yeah, to get back, if you don't mind, we were talking earlier about how artists, not all of them, of course, but a lot, once they get to a certain age, the hand stability, right, it tends to go. For others, it's the eyes, or both. There is one guy who I feel horrible about, who I believe, in my opinion, a Bronze Age artist. His quality just dropped off a cliff. I want to say at least a good 20 years ago, like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. That's when I remember starting to see his recreations, and I was like, ooh, oh, wow, and I was thinking, geez, he can't be that old. And I'm just like, let me see. If I'm 30, let's say in 2005, for instance, 20 years ago, I was 35. So I was like, 35, how old can he be? At that point, he must have been not more than 20 years older than me. So mid 50s, which is where I am now. So it feels like for him, I don't know if it's the eyes, the hands, whatever. I don't know. I haven't heard any stories, but really a sad drop off in quality, and it's only gotten kind of worse. I don't know. I think he still does. I think he still might be doing cover recreations. I'm not sure. I know that you have some of his, Shaun. So I'm not sure if it's something we should talk about, or should we even mention, or whatever. Look at Caesar. Oh, you better hope Paul doesn't see that. Look at him. Don't talk about Gulacy that way. Look at the rest of these guys, Shaun. They're all guessing right away.
Yeah. Well, some of them are good selections, though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He for sure had trouble, but that was a health thing. See, with George, it was definitely a health thing. Marcus, with Byrne, it's not a health thing. With Byrne, he was just drawing the same way he started drawing in the 90s. Once he hit like the mid 90s on Wonder Woman, or around that time, maybe with Next Man, I can't remember, but something in the 90s that he was doing, and he started just using a fatter, chunkier line, simplifying the faces with big, fat, chunky lines, and it just started looking, ugh. So he was doing it on purpose. I'm thinking probably as a matter of speed to get through it quicker, but you could tell it was purposeful. It's not like there was any hesitation that you could see in the line where you could maybe think, oh, is his hand sort of unsteady now because of age or whatever? No, it was just that was an artistic choice. Yeah, so that's it. But when we're talking about, specifically because of age and health issues because of age, that's a different thing. I think that's what we were talking about earlier. That's what Shaun was mentioning, right, Shaun? Yeah. I mean, I don't think listen, we're not, we do it with respect. I think it's okay. Are you willing to talk about some of the artists where you were commissioning, where at a certain point you felt like, ooh, I don't know, you maybe had doubts about whether it was a health thing, or maybe you tried them again and then you saw, oh, again, it kind of failed. Maybe I better stop getting commissions from this person. Like, are you willing to talk about that at all? Or mention names, or you don't have to,
yeah,
of course.
Yes, I can definitely be honest with you, especially if the screen keeps freezing. So anyways, I would work around issues like that. For instance, if you had Ed Hannigan, who had MS.
MS.
Yeah, I mean, he had a health issue. So and I've posted some of his recreations in my gallery, and I've included the original pencil versions that he did. And you can tell they're pretty bad. But I went into those recreations that he did not want to do, promising him that I would get an inker that would save his drawings and enhance them. And I got Milgrom because he was familiar with them. of the people, I gave him choices though. I asked him, McLeod, Rubenstein, who would you like to see? And he said he wanted Milgrom because he worked with Milgrom on Peter Parker. So Milgrom cleaned them up. He took forever, but they looked a lot better than they used to be.
Right.
And then the coloring would also enhance them too. So like in Ed Hannigan's instance, he's not doing any recreations now.
No.
Other people who had issues, some people are still alive. Mike Grell. I mean, his lines aren't as sharp as they used to be.
Right.
I mean, how could they be? I mean, he's in his late 70s.
Right.
And so I'm trying to think of any other artists that you would. Do you have an artist in mind? I will comment honestly.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. I'll listen. Since I'm the one who threw it out at you, I'll be fair about it, and I'll say who I was talking about earlier. Okay, and because Larry, my friend Larry, what's up, Larry? Larry Wilson popped in and he said, "Does he share a name with me?" And at first I nodded no, but then I didn't want to lie, so I then said, "Okay, yes."
Yeah.
So Ron
Wilson for sure. Yeah, Ron Wilson's definitely, and I think it's because I did a lot with him. I did like 100 pieces with him.
Wow.
I know. Really? I haven't had time to post them. So yeah, I have a bunch not posted. But what's saving his work? First off, when he inks his own stuff, it's with it's like a Sharpie. It's a fine point Sharpie. So I never have him do his own inking.
Right.
So I usually have an inker come and follow him and try to enhance it. So I think I got a majority of his pieces done by Rubenstein because Rubenstein would also color them. So then I went to the point where I actually got Jack Morelli to do the lettering and put in some word blurbs, and it cleans it up a lot more than it is. But he's done commissions in multiples, so He's done a lot of, and none of them are the same. I'll tell you how I first got involved with Ron Wilson.
Sure.
Well, he was repped by Jeff Jaworski.
Jeff Jaworski. I forgot about that. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And Jeff repped him, Arville Jones, and Keith Pollard. And
right. The 70s Detroit crew, basically. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so Jeff and I were friends. And Jeff hooked me up with Ron Wilson first. And so this has got to be early 2000s, maybe late 2008, 7, somewhere around there.
And by the way, you say you and Jeff were friends. You were friends through the hobby or because of that, or because you already somehow knew each other?
He bought art from me. Previously. So he collects art too.
Yeah.
I mean, he has like art from, he knew Frank Springer. And Frank Springer was the inker on Black Lightning 1 with Trevor Von Eden. So he has several pages from that, and I've always tried to get those from him.
Sorry, from what book?
Black Lightning 1.
Oh, Black Lightning 1. Oh.
Yeah, Trevor Von Eden was the pencil.
Von Eden and Springer,
and he was repping Springer at that time too. And in fact, you know what? Springer was the first guy I got something from out of that group. But anyway, so Jeff was like us. He was just trying to help the artists out. He wasn't trying to make a living off of this.
Right.
So he hooks me up with Ron to work direct, Ron Wilson. And so I'm emailing Ron. I said, I would really like to have a Frankenstein cover recreation. And I think I wrote down, I think it was issue 17.
Was it a cover that he had originally drawn?
Yes. That's all I had him do, by the way. I'd still have had him do everything that he has self-identified, but he's been wrong. So sometimes he will tell me he did that cover, and then I come to find out it's Perez or whoever. So majority of the pieces I have from him are pieces that he originally did back in the day. He never signed his stuff, hardly ever signed his stuff in the 70s. And so I emailed him, and he didn't know how to open scans. I mean, he was very new to this email stuff. And so I get this commission in the mail, and it's the Universal Monster Frankenstein. And I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, it was like the old Boris Karloff Frankenstein. And I'm like, this isn't what I asked for. You
mean, was it just the character himself that looked like the movie character, or like it was just like not even a cover recreation?
not even a cover recreation. And I asked him, I said, what happens is, because I wrote in the email the word Frankenstein, he put the Frankenstein search into Google, and it just shows up Universal Monster Frankenstein, because he couldn't remember the cover. And so he saw the first image on the internet and he just copied that.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how we started.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Your very first one.
Very first one with Ron Wilson. So
Wow.
I sent that one back, and he did it the correct way. I had to have Jeff Jaworski involved, and Jeff helped me out with that. And and then ever since, I got a couple of pieces by him that were inked that I didn't like, and if I got a piece from him that was inked with that, the inking he would use sometimes would even smudge. I would ask Joe Rubenstein to ink over it because it was that bad, which he would do. And so I almost every piece I have from Ron Wilson was inked and saved by Joe Rubenstein.
And when was your first your first
piece by Ron Wilson? Was probably around 2007, 2008.
Okay, so yeah, so all right, so then my memory, at least on that, is good, because as I said, I still feel, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like it was even earlier than that I began seeing, like, commissions that were like, ooh, it made me go like, oh my God, what's going on there, But even if I'm wrong, because I'm like, again, I'm thinking early 2000s, potentially anywhere from 01 to 04, But even if I'm wrong, okay, 07 or 08, whatever, a few years later, that's fine. But yeah, it's been a long time now. If it hasn't been 2 full decades, it certainly has been close to it, right? So
yeah, but he's also cheap. He was doing 4 cover recreations for me for $1,000.
I know, but see here. So here's the thing. So get this, Shaun. See, I remember. Oh my gosh. So again, in my mind, I think it's early to mid 2000s, and my memory of the first one I saw, and this is why it was so shocking, because it was also a cover recreation of a cover I was so in love with. It was a cover that I have so much sentimental affection towards, and we all know it. I'm pretty sure most of us know it. It was 1 year into my reading and collecting, it came out, and it was like, oh my God, I saw that thing come on the stands and I had to buy it. Thank God I had the money for it. It was the whole $1. It was the Marvel 2-in-1 annual with the champion battling all those Marvel heroes.
Oh yeah, I
remember. That. Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I was just like, ugh, it's awful. Like, that can't be Ron. That has to be a 15-year-old kid that tried to copy the original cover, some teenager or whatever, like a lot of us at one point in our teens we're trying to copy comic covers and whatnot, and including you and myself, Shaun, and that's what I thought. I literally, genuinely thought it had to be that somebody, putting Ron's name on it to make it look like it's, trying to pass it off. But no, then I started seeing other ones appear in people's collections. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong with Ron. Like, his health must be, because yeah, this is awful. Like, it's really not even close to his abilities that he used to have. So very sad. It was very sad for me to see that. And it never got better. To me, it just got worse. And I know you say, oh, it's cheap. You get 4 for $1,000, where it's $250 each. Honestly, Shaun, that one that I saw, that first one that I saw, there's no really nice way to say it. Okay, I just would have to be honest, though. If you would have said, hey, Ruben, you want this? I don't want this anymore. You want this? For free. I'll ship it to you. I would have been like, oh, no, I'm good. I appreciate it. But no, I don't collect commissions. It's okay. Give it to somebody else, No, that's what I thought about it. Like, it was that bad. I'm like, I don't care how cheap it is. Like, it's just not, wow, it's just not good.
I completely understand. Out of about 100 of the ones he's done for me, even with Rubenstein helping to fix those things, there's a couple that I still think need improving even after the finished product. Yeah. That cover specifically, I actually have that one recreated. I don't know if I posted that on CAF, but I have that annual recreated by both of those. And he's done that one probably a dozen times. And he's done one for me and a friend at one time. And I got them both, and they were not identical. Not every recreations he's done that have been duplicates are not the same. I've had him do other commissions that I've had done that other people have wanted, that I told him to go get your own and tried to get the piece for them, and it's come back different than mine. So he's not light boxing. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing. That's exactly. I will say though, Shaun, I will say, and it pains me. It pains me because I of his 70s and 80s work, I was always a very big fan. I mean, he was a protege of Ron Wilson, and he drew in that sort of style. I'm sorry, John Romita.
Okay.
Yeah, brain fart there. A protege of John Romita, and so learned a lot from John Romita. So I was a big fan of his, 20 years or whatever of his career, 15 to 20 years of his career. But I got to tell you, I also have seen multiple versions of that Marvel 2-in-1 annual cover. And as hard as it is for me to say and admit, every single one of them I've seen is pretty bad. They're all bad. It's just different degrees of bad. That's all. You know what I mean? So clearly that points to some sort of health thing, right?
I'm not sure if it's health or just not paying attention. I don't think.
Come on, Shaun.
I've seen him draw in person. Have you seen him draw in person?
No, but I will say that it's not just the Marvel 2-in-1 cover. I can also take it a step further, Shaun. I'll take it a step further and tell you in complete honesty. And again, it pains me to say this because I'm a fan of his career. Everything since he started doing recreations, everything I've seen has been subpar. I've not seen one that I thought, oh, okay, good. Oh, finally he did a good one. Like he's just been sick lately. No, everyone. So that's what tells me it has to be something with his health.
I didn't notice anything. It could be cataracts, but I don't think so. I just think he's just not into what he's doing. I think it's a job for him, and he just wants to get it over with.
Okay, I'll say this. And this won't help explain it all away. But okay, when he kind of got pushed out of the business, like so many people did by the late 80s, early 90s, right? When image style stuff was getting rid of all the old school 60s and 70s guys, he was still okay, right? Doing professional work. But then he got pushed out. And then it was at least 10 to 15 years that he was out of the business before, somebody tried to bring him in and, hey, you should think about doing cover recreations and commissions for the fans. It's a big thing now, So think about it. Let's say it's 15 years. 15 years without having drawn comics. Even though you could have had a career of 25 years before that, working every month. Artistic muscles are like anything else. If you don't use it, you lose it. Okay? So you don't draw for 15 years, you're the first thing you start drawing, it's going to suck. It's going to be bad. But with a little bit of practice, because of all that experience, that you've had your entire life, you do a few, you start, each one gets better and better and better, and you're back on point again. Unless you have some sort of health issue thing. They never got better, Shaun. They never got better. In my eyes, not the ones that I saw, it literally, I'm not kidding when I say that pretty much they all look like a teenager cop trying to do their best to copy a cover, but they don't have much skill. The line work is just, it looks amateur looking. It's got to be a health thing,
It could be. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you to a point. So at one time I asked him, I think maybe he was, not getting paid enough. So maybe he's just not putting, you're getting what you pay for,
Effort.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I said, give me that Marvel 2-in-1 annual that you just mentioned, the boxing one. Let's do a large double-sized commission. Take your time, make it your masterpiece. And he did take his time. It took him 3 months. And to do a pencil piece, and I'll have Joe come in and follow through it and color it. It is better, but it isn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And it cost me quite a bit. So I paid him, and I told him to take his time. In fact, he got to a point where he was like, on the backside, he had to draw it down like you remember the famous Superman versus Muhammad Ali drawing. It was that type of format. And so he tried to pick everybody in the crowd and identify them, because we were having trouble identifying people in the crowd because they didn't look like the people he thought they did. So even with the amount of time and money, he still wasn't as good as he was in the 70s. That's for sure.
Right. Oh, no. Yeah.
But it was better than the recreations. So maybe it's a combination of health and effort. I don't know. I never asked him. Yeah. How do you ask somebody that?
No, you don't know. That's what I'm saying. I certainly wouldn't bring it up. I would, I'd rather not
I
talk.
don't know about that. I think you would.
I'm not. Let's just say this. I'm not going to be the one to bring it up to him. That's all I can say.
Okay.
But Cobby asks something, a good question here. He says that, do you have any stories about having done any non-recreation commissions?
Yeah, I just mentioned one. The big Muhammad Ali type style. That.
Oh no, obviously, you just mentioned that. But did you do many? I mean, obviously, a lot of us have been seeing you posting all those photos from various points over the last few decades at conventions of the artists, and oftentimes they're holding commissions for you, single character type commissions. Mm-hmm. So obviously you've gotten commissions at conventions of single characters. But have you done much of that type of commissioning through the mail, like online, without being there at the conventions with them?
I would say almost as many recreations I have as commissions. Just posted. Only my calf gallery has about half the art I have, so I'm probably at the halfway point now. But yes, and I would give themes. The commission I would ask for. I would pick the characters. I wouldn't ask for the layout. I mean, I wouldn't identify saying this person's punching this person or this person's doing that. I would just say, give me these characters in this type of scene and go at it. And and I've mentioned this before. They would usually sketch out some type of rough thumbnail. Ask me, here's pick one, A, B, or C. Which layout do you like the best? And then they run with it. Arvell Jones was that way, by the way. So Arvell Jones would give me choices to pick, and Ron Wilson never did, by the way. But I only have maybe 3 commissions. The rest are all recreations by Ron Wilson. And Keith Pollard's a different story. I have about as many commissions as I have recreations. Maybe a little more recreations than I do commissions from Keith Pollard. But same type of story. I would ask Keith to do an Amazing Spider-Man where he would. You remember the storyline where Spider-Man had a broken arm and he was in a sling and he was fighting the Kingpin. It was like 197 or 198, issue 197, 198.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and I asked for that type of commission, and he would run with it. He also gave me a thumbnail like Arvell Jones would do and asked me, is this okay for you? And I said, yeah, sure, go for it. And they usually keep those thumbnails for a majority of the time, and then they would sell them. And then the final product would come to me.
Right.
So the short answer is yes, I got quite a bit of commissions.
Right.
And almost all of them come out great. I can't think off the top of my head right now on any that I got through the mail that I was disappointed. Well, that's not true. Some of the Arvell Jones were disappointments, but nothing major. It's, I wasn't expecting a lot from Arvell Jones, so it wasn't like, my hopes were high. But yes, even Bob Layton did commissions for me through the mail too.
Okay.
So if there's a specific artist you want to throw at me in the chat, I'll give you my version of what I've done with them.
Yeah, if you're curious, guys, ask away. In the meantime, while we wait for them to do that, I just want to ask you, when you say, and for those of you watching here tonight or who are watching this on Rewind, if you didn't catch Shaun's previous appearances on my channel, you may not know, especially if you came in late tonight, you may not know that Shaun is on record as having said he owns more than 1,000 commissions. What I want to know, just so we make it clear to everybody, Shaun, the 1,000+ commissions, does that include everything? Like in terms of, so it's not just recreations, but all the single character, sketches at conventions, that includes everything?
Well, I have 1,800 pieces, and I would say published works about 300, and I would say recreations about half of the, so it was 700-800 recreations and 700-800 or 500-600 commissions. So yeah, I've got hundreds of them. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, you counted, so you know for a fact you're pretty dead on with that 1,800 number.
I have them hidden on CAF.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you right now. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, it'll tell me the totals here. So commissions on CAF are at 331, and recreations are at 506.
Wow.
And then of course I've got pinups, sketches, and I would add them into the commission. And I don't have all the commissions on there. I probably have another 20 or 30 still not up on my CAF.
Okay.
So yeah, I have hundreds.
Okay. Let me look at Ian says 1,800. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. A few of the guys have popped in some names. See if you got any stories. We do have a story, Marcus, about Simonson, and we're gonna talk about. That's one of his favorite commissions. So we'll talk about that later. Rick wants to know: do you got any commission story about Totleben?
No, I only had a published Swamp Thing page that I had, but I actually traded it to Mike Browning. But that was my only experience with him. But no, I've never gotten a commission from him. I never followed his series, so I didn't get any when Swamp Thing was being published. I didn't buy any off the stand, so I didn't. I'm trying to buy commissions of storylines and comics that I collected as a kid. So he wouldn't have been in that group. Right.
Well, Marcus, although we'll get to your Simonson request later, I did want to get to your previous question. I know you think I forgot you, but I did not forget you. And I'll ask on your behalf. Back in the day, I want to say this was early 2000s. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Marcus. Mike Zeck was doing for a short time. I don't know, maybe a couple of years or something. He was doing cover recreations but like not line for line. He was improving on them. He was doing tailored detailed stuff, like fantastic work, the best stuff he's ever drawn, so much better than the original versions. And I remember at the time he was doing them for $1,000, and it was this big deal because at that time it was like $1,000 for a commission, like for unpublished artwork. That was incredible because you could still get a lot of quality published work for $1,000 in those days. Do you remember that? Did you ever have anything to do with that? Ever commission him?
I got one. I have Marvel Secret Wars 8.
You do have a Secret Wars 8. Okay.
It cost me $800, not $1,000. But yeah,
800.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I agree. It looks better than the original. Yes. He wrote on the back. He would write the year, and I'm trying to remember what he wrote on the back of it. But
I remember
a paragraph of shit on there. So,
yeah.
And I tried to get him again, but he was just too far. Other people had gotten him, and then the window closed, and then he got a rep, and she wants like $3,000, $4,000 for recreation. So I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. So I only have the one. I never got a commission. I just had the recreation though. So I never bought any of the Captain America commissions or any of that stuff. Yeah,
but it's cool. At least you got one of those recreations that he was doing. And was I right? Was it from around earlier 2000s?
I think 2006,
Oh yeah,
2007.
mid 2000s. Okay.
I think so. I have it
Okay.
posted on my calf gallery.
Okay.
So it is up there.
I'll check it out. If it's there, I'll check it out.
Really check it. It'll tell me the year on it. 2008.
Oh wow. Okay, so late 2000s. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, those look fantastic. So no, at least you got that one because he doesn't do them anymore anyway. So it's a good thing. It's funny, like I said, at the time, everybody was freaking because I think he started at 800, and I think he ended at 1,000. And then he just stopped doing them, and he doesn't want to do them anymore, and he hasn't done them in so many years. So at the time, so many of us thought like, wow, that's crazy. How come people are buying this stuff at such crazy high prices? You know. All these years later, of course, it's been a long time, but yeah, now, I'm sure you could. I haven't. You know, what's funny is with all the John Buscema recreations I've seen, hit heritage over the years, I never see any of those awesome Mike Zeck pieces where he really improved on the originals. I never see them come up. It's crazy. Everybody seems to hang on to them, I guess, but.
I've only seen one other one. I think Vinny Zuzzola has one. I think it's a Deathlock recreation, but I've only seen one other one. I haven't seen any others.
Yeah,
I didn't check anybody else's calf gallery, but
no. But that's the thing but I never see them come up for sale anywhere. Nobody seems to put them on the market. Yeah. I guess they love them enough, so that's awesome. Okay, so a couple of other names. Marcus wondering, Michael Golden. Any interesting story with Michael Golden? Yeah, have you gotten stuff from him?
I had one piece in 2005 of, I want to say, Doctor Strange, and I got rid of it immediately because his style had changed, and he had just come back in the market, and so I wasn't expecting the dramatic change in style.
Yeah.
So I got rid of that one pretty quick.
Okay.
And the only other two pieces I have were from a different collector, and they're from the NOM. So they were commissions. So they're not on my calf gallery, but it was from a promoter over in Spain who, through conventions, and Mike Golden in the late 80s, early 90s, had done two NOM commissions for him. And I bought those from that promoter when he was sick before he passed away.
Oh,
so
okay.
I still have them. They're not posted though. I'll try to get them.
Right. Yeah, you'll get to it eventually. TJ wants to know about Tom Grummett. I guess he's asking on my behalf. I don't know.
I don't think I've got it. He was right at the end of where I was stopped collecting.
Yeah.
So I went to 84, maybe 1985, and I don't remember him on.
No. He broke in like in 87. Yeah. So you probably just missed him, and so I guess the same thing would be said for Kelly Jones.
No, Kelly Jones, I met him at a show, and he's in one of my photos. He was just very expensive, even back then. He was promoting the Max at the time, and so, or was he doing Wolverine and the Marvel Comics Presents? One of those two. Right. And it was very slow. And so his list was very long. He told me it would take months before he could get to me. And I didn't want my money tied up on it because it was expensive with him, thinking he was young at the time. And this is probably mid 90s. And I never saw him again. So he must have got out of the convention circuit because he's never come back in my area since 95 or 96. I've never seen another show. I don't even know what he's doing now. Is he doing comics now? I don't even know what he's doing now, but I haven't heard his name in a long time.
Kelly, you mean?
Kelly Jones.
He still works. In fact, he occasionally is still getting pro work. He still does pro work occasionally.
No, I haven't followed him.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have got him because I liked his style back then.
Yeah, and from those Silver Age guys, Romita, did John Romita Sr.
I tried like hell to get him to do something, but I could never talk him into doing it. I would send Christmas cards every year picking for I mean, it went on for 25 years. I was mailing him letters and stuff. Never once did I get anything besides a signature. He signed a couple of prints, and that was it, like a wedding print. You know,
That's
when
it.
Spidey and Mary Jane got married, he signed a print for me. That's it. Never
That's
would do anything for me.
yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't even a question of money. He didn't say, you know, it costs.
oh no, I know. I
Yeah.
He just didn't feel like doing them. I know. I remember there was a time where everybody was trying. It wasn't just you. A lot of people were trying, and he would refuse everybody. So you can kind of take solace in that, Shaun, like in the sense that it's not like he screwed me, but he gave those guys some awesome commissions, you know? He really was refusing everybody. Think about this. This should make you feel good. Even Mike Berkey at a certain point began asking him to like try to convince him, hey, do me a bunch of twice up cover recreations. And he blew him off as well. And he said, nope, I'm done. I'm just done. That's it. I don't want to do it anymore. Not interested. So even for him, he wouldn't do it, you know? So don't feel too bad. Bobby wants to know, do you ever, or have you ever gotten recreations of splashes and interiors, or has it always just been covers?
Actually, I have. Jim Starlin, I had him recreate the famous fight scene between Thor and Thanos from Avengers Annual 7, and also of Warlock fighting Thanos from that same thing. So, yes, there's a couple of splashes I had recreated because they had an impact on me. It's usually based on something that I tried to draw when I was a kid. That's a splash. That's a double page splash, in fact, and that I drew when I was a kid. And so I asked Mike to recreate it for me because I still can't find a published piece. So yeah, there's probably a handful that would qualify for that.
Okay. And Jason is asking, has there been an artist you thought was going to do a commission, but they kept avoiding it to the point of ultimately backing out, or you saying, forget it, and canceling the whole thing?
Marie Severn was one.
Wow.
Yeah, she was. She would always come up with something going on with her life. She did one piece for me, and then we were trying to get something else going, like a cull. I think it was cull, and she was moving here, moving. She moves multiple times, I guess, because I'd always get these postcards saying my new address is here. So she was the first one. And then Jim Sherman, you know, from the Legion of Superheroes. Jim Sherman. I think I'm on year 5 right now. He still did me a night, and I haven't paid him. So it was one of those where we agreed on a price, we agreed on what we were going to have done, sent me an approval portion, and then never did it. And every 6 to 9 months, I'll email him and ask him how things going. Oh, I'll get to it. I'll never see that piece. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that has backed out or returned my money, but I don't think so. That, you know, Matt Haley, I forgot about that. So it's the stuff that like where I paid in advance, and so.
Right. Tell the Matt Haley story. So let me just quickly give a little lead in, everybody. So if you haven't been checking it out, you should check out Shaun's gallery. So in the last couple of weeks, he's been posting a ton of pictures of artists that he's seen at cons, and so one of them was Matt Haley. And Matt Haley was there, and then I commented on it, and that's when you replied to my comment, and that brought up a little story. It's like, oh, we can tell this when you show up on my channel on Sunday night. But yeah, go ahead and tell us the little story with Matt Haley.
So I went to an Emerald City Comic Con like I did back in the day every year. And I would go to Artist Alley and see who's going to be the guest. Back then, I was always being surprised. I didn't know who was going to be there. And so there were several artists. I think this was a show with Michael Golden, actually. Oh. And so after I was done with Michael Golden, I paid him at the beginning of the show. And it was like a 3-day show. So if you paid him on the first day and he couldn't get to it that night, he'd have it for you the next day because he'd supposedly would draw it at night after the show.
Right.
So at the last day of the show, and I was set up selling comics. So I was stuck at my table. I went at the beginning of the show and saw, at the time was Matt Haley, but I was thinking he was Bruce Timm because there was no signage. And so I saw this Catwoman drawing. And so and to remind myself who I was having it done by, I took a picture of him. And of course, it's not a Polaroid, so I can't see the picture until months later.
Right,
So,
and you didn't write it down, right? Which is what you should have done.
I didn't even have. And so what happened was I paid him, like, I'm pretty sure it was $75. It may have been $100 for a Catwoman drawing that he said you'd get to it and come back at the end of the show to come pick it up. So I'm selling comics all day, and I was using my sales of the comics to do all these commission stuff. So at the end of the day, and I'm about to break down my set, I go to this table, and the artist alley's gone. Nobody's there. And so I asked the promoters, who was in that area from the convention, where are the artists? He said they all left early because it was slow. And I said, well, did they leave me anything here? This guy owed me a piece of drawing. He said, no, I don't even know who he is. I said, who was sitting here at this spot here? Because I didn't write his name down because I didn't know he was going to take off on me. And so he says, I have no idea either. And back then, the pamphlet didn't tell you artist is at this specific spot because it was a new show. Almost Comic-Con was probably a year old. And so I wrote it up and chalked it up as a loss. And now he joined Facebook years later. And I'm posting some pictures in a comic book group of 1970s and 80s artists. And I said, anybody know who the hell this guy is? I thought it was Bruce Timm, but it doesn't look like him when I go to his page. And so they said that was Matt Haley. And I said, oh, okay. So I find Matt Haley on Facebook. And do you remember the year I told you? Was it 16 or 17?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Let's say 2016. Yeah. So I message him through Facebook and ask him, do you remember, has this ever happened to you before where you took money from somebody at a convention and then left? He says, yeah, it sounds familiar. So, well, is this you? So I sent him a photo. Yeah, that was me. And I said, well, any chance I can get that drawing now? I said, in fact, I'll even give you more money now to get something a little more detailed. He says, sure.
Oh, no.
Sure. So this went on for, I would say, 3 months, to the point where I just stopped messaging him because he was never going to do the piece for me. So I've chalked it up to a loss. So he's one guy, yes, who never came through. And, he admits it through our Facebook. In fact, before when you mentioned it in that calf gallery, I went to go look at my Matt Haley messages back and forth to make sure I remembered correctly, and it's still there. So our messages back and forth are still there for proof.
Oh, you still have them?
Yeah, it's still in the chat in Facebook.
Wow, that's cool. Wow. Well, at least thank God you didn't send them more money like your sick ass wanted to.
Well, I didn't know he was still the same guy from 2005. I would think he would have matured by now. Wow. So, yeah, I haven't even looked to see anybody else getting Matt Haley drawings. Or I mean, is anybody getting commissions from him? I have no idea.
I mean, like I told you, I see him. I've been seeing him for years on Facebook. He's posting regularly. Actually, I think his dad recently passed away, so rest in peace. But yeah, other than that, like he's been out of the comics biz for a long time, right? He's he went off to make more money in other illustrative endeavors. But I guess that's his way of keeping in with kind of his love of the hobby, just maintaining his Facebook page or whatever. But I'm pretty sure, like, I've not heard of anybody getting commissions from him or anything, so I don't think he does anything like that, Yeah. But I don't know for a fact, but I don't think so. I certainly haven't seen anybody post a recent Haley commission in recent years, anyways, Yeah. Marcus says, you're next on his list, Shaun. Yeah. CJ says, he told you to go to Haley.
Yes.
All right. Let us move on now back to a very interesting story that we can show a few images of, process and images. Four images, really fun, which is kind of a ugly story, if you will. At least that's what you said in your correspondence with me. And this is the Rich Buckler Nova cover recreation. Okay.
So Rich, yeah, I've known Rich since 2002, 2003. I should have known from this first interaction I had when I asked for a Deathlock commission, and I don't forget how I even got a hold of him. maybe it was the Comic Book Buyer's Guide, or maybe it was one of those ads or something. I can't remember. Oh, he was an alter ego, and he had alter ego he was available for commissions. So I messaged him or wrote to him through Alter Ego magazine, asked for a Deathlock commission color, paid him $150. Never saw it. 6 months later, never saw it. No correspondence, nothing. Blah blah blah. So I wrote for Alter Ego. So I asked Roy Thomas, what's going on with this guy, because he's advertising, blah blah. Roy Thomas got me that commission within 2 weeks. So I got that commission. So that was how we first met.
Okay.
So he was one of those guys, pay up front. He always was pay up front, unfortunately. And so
most are.
Yeah, and he wouldn't venture from that. What you probably don't know is Rich Buckley used assistants almost his entire career. And he would pick up artists who didn't, were trying to break into the business. Like Arvell Jones was one of his assistants when he
right.
And so was Keith Pollard, by the way, before they got to be professionals. And so he would always find these guys, and they would do inking or coloring or whatever the hell they were doing. During my phase with Rich, a guy named Tony Louis was his helper, but I didn't know it at the time. So Rich would do these commissions for me, recreations that I would pick, and he would do one every 3 to 6 months. And they weren't cheap. They were like, I'm going to say $1,200, but they were inked and colored. And
that's not cheap, man.
Yeah, that's not cheap. And the quality was starting to drop off. So I was wondering what the hell was going on compared to the ones I had before. Some of the older ones have faded over time because you could see them, not mine, but the ones I've seen others have. In fact, there was one, Superman versus Shazam, that I bought secondhand that it's a commission, so don't get upset, that I asked him to re-ink, which he did. He re-inked and colored it for me because it was in black and white. So he did that for me. Mm-hmm. And then, so some of the quality wasn't coming to me like I thought it would. And then it finally came to a head with this Nova recreation you're about to show, where the coloring was way off. You can show the before.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to show the process in order. That'll be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We'll do it that way. And
it's the wrong piece.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So here we go. So he started off giving you the rough, and he showed you the rough, and that's this.
Yeah. So he would normally do that. He would do those thumbnails and ask me, "Is this okay?" Because sometimes he would suggest not doing an exact copy. He would flip a piece, have the characters on different sides of the page. Yeah. In this case, this looked fine to me. It was as close to the original as I remembered it. So I asked him to go ahead and go with that. So that's the rough that I do not own.
Oh, you didn't get it. Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And then he moved to the pencil stage, and this is what you got here, which I believe I guess you didn't have a large scanner, and you had to stitch two.
That's the way he gave it to me. I never got the pencil.
Oh, that came from him. Okay. Yeah.
Because he would do the pencils, inking, and coloring.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Sorry.
So he would show me the stages, though, in case there was an issue that he could correct in the pencil process. So he had a small scanner, and that's how he stitched them together. Every one of his approvals was this way.
Okay.
Including the color piece that you're probably going to show next, I think, maybe. Or maybe I sent you because when I got the piece, the ink version will probably be in that same format. The color piece, I actually had it in my hands.
Well, you didn't show me. You didn't give me just the pencils and inks. You went from this to the mistaken already inked and colored version, and then the final version.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'll show everybody. So, by the way, I really think these are beautiful pencils.
Yeah.
I think that Nova figure is gorgeous, and Sandman. I love that Sandman. I think it's pretty gorgeous, and this is pretty later on in life. I mean, what year was this? 2014 or something?
Yeah, it was a couple of years, maybe a year before he passed away.
Yeah, that's really good. Check this out, everybody. Keep in mind, guys, he was contracted to pencil, which obviously he did, and it's beautiful, ink it, and then color it. So he did ink it, and then he colored it, check out the colors.
So
No, Shaun,
yeah.
I gotta say, Shaun, I just want you to know, I feel like with those whatever you call those that type of costume where they have the shoulder, like the Wolverine shoulders there, that it sticks out, right? I feel like it actually looks kind of cool with the bare arms. So I gotta say, it's not so bad because it's kind of a cool look, but obviously it's not his costume. So yeah, that's
yeah. The colors in general were all off, and so that's how I received it. So he mailed that piece to me that way, and when I got it, I was like, "What the hell?" And so I asked him. I said, I immediately noticed what you just said, that he had the short sleeves there. So I asked him. He said he didn't see anything wrong with it, and I'm not kidding. And so I want to say maybe a week later, he emails me back and says he went to see his eye doctor and he has cataracts. And so he actually went through cataract surgery, came back to me, I want to say 3-4 weeks later, and saw the colors again this way, and said, I am very embarrassed to see what I did and sent you. Please send it back and I will fix this at my cost. But it took cataract surgery for him to realize that these colors were way off.
Wow.
And so I sent it back to him, and he recolored it and sent it back to me.
So here's the thing. So you're saying, so just so I understand, because I wasn't sure. Are you saying he just recolored over top of these colors we're looking at now?
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't redraw it. I sent him back that original, and as you'll see, he just corrected the color. I don't know if he used some type of.
That's why I was just kind of wondering what tools he was using that he could just completely, that he could completely cover them up and they didn't like mix together and create different colors, Yeah,
I never asked him that. He wasn't around very much longer. In fact, when he got the cataract surgery, he was already diagnosed with cancer. So he was already he knew it wasn't going well.
Right.
But he still wanted a cataract surgery. So this is you can show the finished product. And
let's take a look at that, everybody. Check this out. Check out the difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, big difference. Back. And
all the yellows and blues, and it was way better. So I was very happy once that happened.
Yeah, that
was the ugly and the the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, we still got to do the good one.
We may have another ugly. I'm trying to remember the Ernie Cologne piece.
I don't think. Oh, that must have been another email. I didn't grab that one. Damn it.
That's okay. That's okay.
But look at that. Tom says that looks great. It does. I think it's a great one. And TJ says, yeah, huge difference. And Marcus says, I prefer sleeveless. I'm sure you do. And you should maybe sell this now, Shaun, says Tom.
No.
Now it turned out okay. Now it turned out really good. It's nice. Why would you want to sell it? This is a good one. And Rick says he used the magic eraser in order to recolor it properly. And there you go. Jerry Bourne. There's the guy. Here's one of my guys. Jerry, I spoke about you. I mentioned the reason I was doing this show, and I mentioned that it started off with a couple of guys reaching out to me wanting to do a show with me about commissions. And I mentioned that you were one of them. So this is he, everybody. You guys know him. He's been on Comic Art Live before. So who knows? Maybe we can work it out another time, Jerry. But it turned out great, man. I mean, so I'm assuming you're very happy with this one, Shaun.
Oh yeah. Nova, he did a couple of Nova pieces for me. Yeah. Very, very happy. In fact, I got 2 or 3 more pieces after this before he passed away.
You got 2 or 3 more before he passed?
Yeah, I got 1 more, and then he was doing 2 at the end of his life, a Black Lightning one and a Marvel Feature 11, and he passed away right as he finished them. So they were not signed, so his widow signed the back of them for me.
Oh. Oh, but how did you? I'm curious about that. When that happens, how do you handle that? I mean, you hear he passes. He still has art he owes you. So how do you handle that in order to make sure you try to get that art into your possession? Like,
well, I went to the wake. And, no, I'm joking. So I actually found out by posting because I had the process pieces on Facebook, and that's when I found out Tony Lau was his assistant, because he saw it in a group and said, "Oh, you're Rich's big customer," because Rich and I would going back. I must have a dozen pieces by him the last couple of years of his life, and Tony was his assistant, and so his assistant had the art, and so his assistant sent it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how I found out he had an assistant, and who it was this go around, because he would do. He said he was doing the coloring before that piece that you just showed.
Who, Tony did?
Yeah, Tony, before the one you said, not the Nova. He didn't do that Nova one, because when I showed it to him, he said, "No, I didn't do that one."
Oh. So he sometimes, if Rich was getting contracted to pencil, ink, and color, that's what he would use the assistant for, is to do you do the coloring for me, that kind of thing.
Well, I asked him specifically what was his chores, and he said sometimes he would ink the backgrounds. Not most of the main figures he wouldn't do, and then he would do the coloring where he was allowed to, and then Rich would come over and touch it up or not. That's how he was breaking into the business.
Okay. Tom says he absolutely loves all the colored pieces that you have, Shaun.
Good.
Big fan. Big fan. I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite of Tom. But look, it's not nothing, it's not Shaun Clancy related. It's just, I always prefer pencil and ink, no colors. But that's why I'm also happy, Shaun, that you, at a certain point, began getting a lot of the colors done on copies, not on the originals. So at least there's some that you still have the pen and ink alone, separate from the colors. So I'm happy about that,
Yeah. It was basically recreations or somebody. The color pieces I usually would ask for coloring would be either color recreations or commissions from artists who have done lots of them. The George Perez's, the Jim Starlins, there's tons of them out there. And just trying to make mine more unique was what I was trying to do. When someone had a commission that, you rarely see from an artist, there's no way I was going to chance a color on the original. So, so I just did to the pieces I thought could survive them, like Ron Lim and such.
Right. Larry says that he once had Rich on board for a project that he was working on. He was so enthusiastic about starting, and Larry didn't know about the cancer. And then, what happened, and he never even got a chance to start on it. So, that's sad, but that's the way these things go at times, right? And sometimes
he kept it hidden up until I think a week before he passed.
Right.
I was unaware of it.
Right. It's what I now refer to as the David Bowie type of death, where I was stunned beyond belief when I woke up and turned on my computer to see the news that Bowie had died, and it was like, what do you mean? Cancer? What do you mean? I don't remember hearing he had cancer, whatever. And he had kept it secret all the way to the end from most people, other than his close friends or relatives or whatever. So, yeah, it's just some people are like that. They just, I don't know. Everybody deals with it in their own way, I guess. And he just preferred to not tell anybody and just keep working and right to the end, pretty much, So, and Larry says also, he would call me every few days looking for progress. He knew, he knew he didn't have long, right? And such a nice person he was to me. Yeah, it's very sad. I met him once. Yeah, he was a nice guy. He came here locally to Montreal to a convention.
So Larry, was the project Doc Wraith? Because he was trying to come out with a new character, and he was sending me a bunch of images of a character he was working on. And it reminded me of his Atlas Seaboard days with that Demon Slayer guy.
And what did you say it was called, Shaun?
I think he called it Dark Wraith.
Oh, dark wraith, like WRAITH.
Correct. Was that the project you guys were working on, Larry? Was it Larry? Yeah, Larry.
Is Larry yet? Yeah, let us know, Larry.
Well, I still have all his concept drawings, images of him. I don't have the physical copies, but I have all that. I have a whole folder on the project he was trying to get get it off Kickstarter or something.
Oh, you have the folder, his folder that he used to have of that project?
A digital folder.
Oh, a digital one. Okay. Yeah. And Larry says, no, he was going to do the cover to a project about Jews in comics. Wow.
Never mentioned it.
The history of comics, probably how the Jews started the comic book industry, something like that, I suppose.
Yeah, he had a lot of irons in the fire. No, I didn't know that.
Interesting. But creatives, they creative people often have multiple plans in their heads, and things that concepts, and if they haven't started them, they don't go around telling all their fans about them. He also wanted to illustrate the Stan Lee chapter. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. These things happen, right? That's the way they go. So what are you gonna do? Okay. So before we hit the Simonson story, let's do one last ugly. Or I don't know if you consider it ugly or bad.
The Milgrom one, because I've seen
Since we popped it up earlier by mistake, so might as well get to it. I only got a couple of scans here, but I'm gonna upload the last one, which is the finished one. All right, so why don't we do that? Why don't we? Let me first put the. We'll change the layout. And then show this. So this looks good so far, right, Shaun?
Yeah, see, he does okay inked, right? So I was asking him to do recreations for me, right? And we were doing them in pencil, ink, and color. That's the way he wanted to do the recreations. That's why he committed to doing these. And so I had him recreate all my Captain Marvel covers that he had done originally. And then once we were done those, I asked for a couple of the ROMs and a couple of other pieces, two ROM covers. But the problem was his coloring was getting worse, and his inking was still okay. But Bob Sharon was my go-to guy to help fix some of Al Milgrom's colors on previous color recreations.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he would touch up, like if there was a ROM logo, if it looked bad, like it was fading here or there or bleeding or whatever, I'd send this piece to Bob Sharon and say, could you fix the logo for me? And he would, uncredited. And so it got to the point where Bob Sharon says, I don't want to do that anymore, Shaun. Give me the coloring before he touches it.
Yeah.
Because it's so chalky and it's very tough to do, and I can't guarantee the quality, blah blah blah. And I said, I understand. To the point where he says, I'm not doing them anymore. Now he wasn't asking; he was telling me, I'm not going to do them anymore. So I asked Al to stop coloring, and Al didn't want to give up that amount of money. and remember, I paid on completion with Milgrom, so it wasn't like I gave him money up front.
Right.
But he didn't want to give up any sort of money on a committed project. And so I said, I'll tell you what, I'll just give you the money, the agreed amount, and I'll pay the extra amount to Bob Sharon to color it, and you just keep the extra money, and we'll just call it good.
That's insane, Shaun. That's insane.
It wasn't just Milgrom, by the way. There's another story I'll tell you in a minute. And so Milgrom, 3 covers. I think it was 3 cover deal, and so we did it that way. And but when I asked him to stop coloring, he had already started on this one. So if you want to show that, you've shown it twice, so let's show it again.
Yeah.
So
here we go, everybody.
He had already started, and so do you have the finished product, or is that as far as you go?
I have to upload it, but yeah, are you ready to see it already?
No, I'm just asking because I didn't know if you had that, if I sent you a scan of.
Oh yeah. I've got it.
So that's how it was starting to turn out, and it so far so good. But like I said, it's usually with a logo or something, some different area. Now he was very good at the beginning of his coloring stuff in the early 2000s, but in the 2018s or 2010s or 2020. I mean, I can't remember when he did this piece. It was getting a little worse. So I was willing to pay the extra money for Bob Sharon to save these pieces, so I didn't have to have him try to fix it later. And
Right.
and that's what we did. And these were the last set I worked with Milgrom on because we weren't going to do this anymore.
Oh, this was the last one?
This was the last set I worked with Milgrom on. So I paid him his $1,200 fee per piece. Yeah. And then I paid, I think it was 150 or $200 a piece for Bob Sharon to color these.
Oh, how much for the coloring from Bob?
I think it was either 150 or 200 a piece.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what he did do. So I was willing to pay for it because I wasn't doing these for resale. So yes, I'm going back and forth. I'm saying like, oh man, I don't know if I want to put that much money into it. But as you can see, Bob Sharon saved this piece, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And no, Milgrom did not get mad. He, like I said, he was happy not to do that, not to do the work, but yet still get paid.
Like Shaun, how many pieces did you pay him the full amount for coloring that he did not end up coloring?
Just those three. He did color the previous ones, but I had Bob Sharon fix them.
Right. Yeah.
So if there was something wrong with the logo, and I didn't give you examples of that. This happened to me one other time with a different artist, and that artist was Jim Starlin. Starlin. And it's funny because someone mentioned this, asking me if I'd ever had any panel pages recreated, splash pages, and I mentioned the two Avengers Annual 7, the Thanos versus Thor, and the Thanos versus Warlock. Both of those commissions, Jim Starlin committed to, but I had to use Jamie. What's Jamie's last name? His inker that he goes to.
Oh, Jamie Jameson or something like that?
Yeah, Jamie Jameson, thank you. For some reason, I'm in a memory block. So he would only work with her and as an inker. And I said, well, Joe Rubenstein was the original inker on this series, and I want to use Joe. And Jim said, it's either using me and Jamie or I'm not doing them. And I said, well, how much do I have to pay? And he said, $2,000 a piece.
What?
I said, so I'm going to pay you $2,000 to do each one, so $4,000, and I have to hire and I have to pay that for Jamie not to ink them, and have Joe inked them, and which is what I did do. And so it's the most I ever paid for.
Wow, that's insane, Shaun. That is so insane.
I never did it again. Yeah, it was a very expensive.
Holy crap!
Commission. Yeah,
and that, you know what? Like, to me, there's so much, like there's more than one thing wrong there. The first thing wrong, obviously, is listen, he has the right to do whatever he wants in terms of his policies, right, of doing commissions. So yeah, I guess I can't say it's wrong, but it feels wrong because he is still, he's still soliciting commissions that fans will pay good money for. So it kind of is, I feel, wrong to say, oh, you got to use my inker or it's the highway. My way or the highway, basically. Use my inker or I don't even do pencils for you, So that's already kind of problematic already. But then there's, even if you agree to that, you're like, okay, whatever. Let's say you get past it and you say, all right, fine, I'll use your inker. But how does he get some no-name, no offense to her, she seems like a nice person, but I've never heard of her before until I heard that, this is how he does his commissions. You're going to pay some amateur wannabe inker $2,000, the same amount that he gets for his pencils? Like, that's insanity.
Well, yeah, I'll back up for a second. So yeah, they were just starting to work together.
Oh, at the time? Oh, okay.
She didn't even have any history. So maybe one or two commissions under her belt. And so I wasn't very comfortable with her inking at that time anyways. Sure. But the $2,000 was pencils and ink per piece, so $4,000 for the two.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And then half of that would go to Jim and half would go to her. So she would get $2,000 and he would get $2,000. And then I would hire Joe to come in and do the coloring and ink, and so I paid her $2,000 not to ink them. And I
Wow.
paid him $2,000 for pencil commissions. Yes, I know. But I'm
Holy.
very happy with the way they turned out. But they're
Yeah.
very expensive.
Good.
Yeah, very,
Listen,
very.
for that much money, man, like it's yeah, I'm glad it turned out ultimately okay, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, good night, my friend. I appreciate it. Catch us. So okay, yeah, sorry we didn't get to the Simonson for you. Thank you though. Have a great week, man. And yeah, no, that's honestly that's really that's insanity. But yes, this one, everybody, one last look before I get rid of them. The and by the way, I wanted to ask you, the when you say you weren't liking Al's colors, my sense that I'm getting from you, Shaun, is that it's more about the tools he was using that just wasn't making it look good. Like you're not saying that his skill as a colorist and you're not are you saying that it wasn't his color choices that were bothering you?
Well, the color choices were what the original covers were, so he had something to go by. But it was the material he was using, and
Okay.
it was yeah, it was smudging, overlapping. He'd use whiteout
Yeah.
sometimes.
So going over outside the borders and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and murky. And so yeah, I wanted. And sometimes it would be for some reason the kind of color choices he would use wouldn't be this, like reds weren't reds, they were like more cranberry. And so I would, yeah, for some reason, I don't know if he has cataract issues, but yeah, Bob saved it in my opinion, and I still trust Bob to this day, even though I'm not doing commissions anymore. Really, I maybe wanted to.
Yeah, you've almost completely stopped the commissioning.
Yeah, you want to see the one I just got literally yesterday?
Really?
Yeah, seriously. That's why it's at the office. So this one here is an Angel Medina pencil.
Okay.
And this is on the original. The colors are on the original. So I had Romeo Tango.
Hold on. I'm gonna.
Are you gonna take a screenshot or something? But
No. I want to put that they've changed the layouts here, and I want to put you on the big screen by yourself.
Okay.
So just give me a second here while I get rid of some other images, and then try to find the. Let's see here, which is the one that gives you. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's Angel Medina. Okay.
Yeah, Angel Medina did this in pencil, and I had the pencils for years, just in pencil.
Oh.
And I've had Joe Rubenstein ink Medina before. But I wanted to try Romeo Tango because I've been using him a lot on Perez stuff and such. So, and he seems to be a lot more, not cheaper, but more, affordable. And then I had Bob Sharon color it. So this is the finished product. So this is on the original because Angel Medina has done a couple of versions of this in different formats. Either 8.5 by 11 or the characters have moved around. So this isn't a complete unique piece, but you can see on the back the colors go through. So that's how you know that Bob Sharon colored the original with watercolor. And you can see some of the line work there if you want on the inking. So Romeo Tango does a great job on he doesn't add a lot, but he does enhance what's there.
Unfortunately, and it's still too blurry and pixelated. Unfortunately,
is that the Wi-Fi issue again?
Yeah, it's probably the Wi-Fi thing, but that's what else? We can't do anything about it, so that's cool. But like Tavi said, we it's good enough to get an idea of what it might look like. It looks pretty cool. So, yeah, you just have to start putting more of your pieces out there and into the gallery or whatever. You still got what, like hundreds that you haven't shown yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
I looked on the thing. It says 1,847 I have in the gallery, but I think I'm only showing. Does it tell me how many I'm showing? Let's see if it tells me how many I'm showing. Well, it doesn't add them all up for me, but it
tells you the total pieces in the gallery is about it.
It's about 1,000, so about 800 still to go.
About 1,000 still go.
No, 800, and they're that type of quality. Yeah, they're this type of quality. They're not like little pencil sketches and stuff. They're like that's this kind of quality here. So, yeah, I tried to have detailed pieces and not just just little thumbnail drawings to be throwing up there. So yeah, I have plenty to do still.
Yeah. Ian says, at this point, given Shaun's vast experience, is the fun of getting commissions in trying to overcome the risk-reward factor? Is that part of the fun? Well, like you said, like you said, Ian, he's no longer really getting them anymore. So apparently the risk-reward factor isn't the thrill for him.
No,
but you can answer, Shaun.
I like the process where I actually either give the ideas,
right,
or I help in the process. And so when they're sending me approval processing or approvals, sometimes I'll actually give feedback, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes this will lead into the Walt Simonson if you want, because this is where I gave some feedback, and we can go into Walt Simonson now if you'd like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It will be an example of where my feedback wasn't received well. And
nice. Oh, yeah, I can't. Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
That's why I'll start. You don't have to post it yet. I'll start.
Yeah. Listen. So just to remind you. So I'm gonna. I've got the whatever. Let's show them in sequence. I think that's probably the best way, right? The rough with the, I guess, pencils. It still looks kind of rough as pencils, and then we have the final piece. You gave me I got the three. You want to show them in order that way?
Well, let me set it up on how it.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we will still go in order, okay? When you're ready, you let me know, because I have to upload those. I don't have those uploaded yet.
Okay. I think we're done with all the stuff you had loaded, though, right?
Yeah, and I've gotten rid of them now. So yeah.
So Spencer Beck, I want to say in 2020. The comic industry was, on standby because of COVID and such. And so some people were out of work and such. And so Walt Simonson was looking for some side work as other artists were doing at that time. In fact, some of my busiest times was at the 2020, 2021 time period, where I was juggling, I want to say 20, 30 things going on at once. And Walt Simonson came out through Spencer Beck and had offered it. And Spencer would call up several people, not just me, asking them if they wanted to do a commission with Walt Simonson. I think he was charging $2K a piece at the time. And there was a spot for me if I wanted. And I said, sure. I said I would even do more if he was open to more, because I didn't want just Thor. I wanted the other characters he worked on in that series. And so he filled in all the other spots real quickly and said there was one spot left, and because he was doing 20. And I said, okay, I'll take a spot. I'll take the second spot. I said, ask him if he'll do more, since it's the same person, where you can do, say, 8 characters and on 11 by 17s, because there's 8 characters I would love to have from that series individually and with some background if possible. He says, well, I'll ask him. And he says, you understand how much that's going to be? I said, yeah, I understand. So at the time I was selling some of my Golden Age comics, and comics were taking off like crazy back in 2020, 21.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll just use that money to go do these commissions. So Walt said, sure. And so when he committed to the 8 commissions, is it 6 or 8? I said, well, since he's committed now, how about if he just does one big piece? So here I am, keep pushing. Right. So now I'm like, well, if he says, well, on one big piece instead of 8 separate pieces, I said, sure, why not? He said, well, how big would that be? I said, well, if they're 11 by 17s taped together, they would probably come out to, like, I don't know, 5 foot by 3. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll ask him. And so Walt said, well, that sounds interesting. He says, let me finish all the other pieces and see where we're at. And but if he does commit, it'll be this amount. And I said, sure, I can do that. So I sold some comics to Heritage, and used that money to Heritage, had it on hold. And I asked Spencer if he's going to commit or not. And he says, yes. He says he'll do it. He says he can't commit to when, but he said he'll do it. And I said, great. I said, so I get to contribute to the theme and all that. He says, yeah, when it comes time, you guys can discuss it between the two of you instead of me going through Spencer. I said, okay. So I paid for the commission. I want to say.
Oh, it had to be all fully at once.
Yeah, I paid in 2020, and so it was a large amount, obviously, and so I paid it, and then when it came time to do it, he asked me what I had in mind. And so I sent him examples of other large commissions I had, like the Dave Cockrum X-Men 107 commission I have, where they're fighting the Imperial Guard and all that. Right. And so I said something along that line where it's a huge battle scene that I could actually look on my wall and stare at and, get lost in for over an hour if I had to. And he liked that idea and that sales pitch. And so he gave me the first sketch, if you want to show that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
First pencil sketch.
So the rough. Oh, and actually, hold on. In order to do this, let us do this. Here we go. A new experiment again, everybody. Woo! All right. And so the first piece is the rough, and that is this one. Check this out. Oh, hold on. Interestingly enough, it said there's an issue with the file.
Uh-oh.
Uh-huh.
Well, I can explain that the first sketch he's drawing is, I asked for the battle scene of Surtar and, the Ragnarok series where he was doing that whole Thor, Odin, Loki, and all that stuff. And the Executioner and such, that whole theme, I wanted that all encapsulated in this one commission. So he had come up with saying that he'd have Surtar, however you say his name, in a pit of lava with demons around him, with Loki on his side doing such and such. And I said, no. So when he showed me the sketch, I said, we're close. I said, but we're probably like 30 seconds off. I said, can you actually have the groups closer together actually battling? And also Loki's on the wrong side. Loki actually came around and helped his dad, Thor, to battle at the end. So can you move him onto the other side? And a couple of days later, Walt wants to cancel the commission.
What?
Based on my feedback. Yeah. He says, I'm not feeling comfortable. I'm going to meet your expectations on this. I'm not really good at having a battle scene where they're actually engaged in battle. I was thinking they're facing off on both sides. Yeah, there we go. And that's Loki on the upper right over his shoulder. And which I asked to move to the other side. So he has all the villain on one side and all those on. And I was like, well, can't you just have like 30 seconds forward and having them engaged in the middle? And that's why he wanted to get out of the whole thing. And I said, well, it's a year later. I sold comics to pay for this commission. And I can't get my comics back. And so is there any way to salvage this relationship? And he took another week and he talked to his wife. And once he found out I had sold my comics to pay for this, he was like, oh, man, now you're really making me feel bad. And so he came up with the second sketch. If you want to show the second sketch.
Yep. Hold on a sec here. Let me see. And so we got rough to this one. Let's see. I think.
Are you loading them still, or?
Oh, I see. Yeah. See, I think I know. See, it's funny. What I'm learning here on the fly, live with all of you guys. What I'm learning is that even though the software didn't tell me so, there must be a limit to the size of the file. And so the reason it worked finally to get this rough up is because I decided to resize it smaller, and it worked. So I'm going to do the same thing here for this one. And yeah. And while I'm doing this, actually, Stingray, just want you to know that in the future for this series, I'd like to have you back since you're a commission collector. I'd like to have you back again, just talking, commissions mostly, but maybe on a show where we do it together with multiple collectors. So anyways, just putting it out there. But in the meantime, I also, Stingray, still talking to you. If you have friends who are primarily commission collectors, I would love it if you tell them about this show and point them to this episode and would really appreciate it if you would, just tell them and see if they'd be willing to come on. I'd like to get people on that I haven't had on before during on any of my other shows. So just putting it out there, because you must know a lot more commission collectors than I do. So all right, so let me try this again.
Sure.
Okay, so it's a little bit too small, unfortunately, but at least it's better than nothing.
I can see it. So Fenris Wolf is up on the right hand. So he replaced Loki with the wolf, and then he moved the characters closer. So he took my advice, and so it was a compromise. And so at this point, once I saw this piece, I decided to shut my mouth because I didn't want him to back out again. And so I wouldn't give him any feedback from here on out because I didn't want to lose this commission like I almost did by mentioning some feedback in the previous sketch. So this from this point on, the pieces you're about to see were all his idea. The characters he added, well, we had agreed on the core characters, and then he added several since. In fact, it came to the point where it took 4 years, because he just finished it this year, and I paid for it in 2020. So it was almost 5 years, 4.5 years. When he finally finished, he did went above my expectations that I actually gave him more money.
Wow.
A tip to say thank you at the end. So I was very happy with the completed piece. And it's so large, it's 62 by 42 inches. And
60? So 62 wide, right?
Yeah, 5 feet.
Yeah,
left
5 feet.
3.5 feet high. And
wow.
and he didn't want to mail it, folded or roll. He's trying not to do it rolled. Right now right now it is rolled right now, and I'm telling him, please leave it flat for now. And the reason why I've said that is because my dad is in Massachusetts, and so my brother and I are discussing going out there in Easter and driving out there because my brother doesn't fly, to see our dad, who's going to turn 86 here in a couple of weeks. And so on that trip, I plan on swinging by. There's the finished product. Great. Yeah, see how great that is? He didn't want to ink it. So when he got to the pencil stage, he was like, are you fine with just leaving it in the pencil format? And I said, well, I was really hoping for it inked. I said, but I'm not going to have it colored. Don't worry. So just finish it off. And because his inking is just as good as his penciling. Now he's 77, 78 years old. And this is the kind of quality he still puts out. And I was very happy with seeing this finished product. So
that's incredible.
He's already been approached by Marvel. He's already made a high resolution scan from this image that you're seeing here. And he's already sent it to them because they're going to do a poster on it. And so it'll be published by the time I get it, probably. And so I'll have it finally, and I'll frame it in my house. And I'm not going to have I'm not even going to make a print and have it colored by Bob Sharon, because I want to see what the poster looks like by Marvel when they color it.
Yeah.
But this is one of the few storylines I actually read from Marvel multiple times. Very few storylines have I ever read more than once. And this one is one of those that I read about 2 or 3 times and enjoyed, and I still have it. Still have the comics.
Yeah. I have this in trade. I don't have the comics, but I got them all, of course, in trade. Yeah.
I've been approached several times to sell this, by the way, already. And,
really?
Yeah, obviously I'm not selling it. In fact, when it was in the pencil stages, I was approached. And because Walt Simonson was actually posting progress on Facebook while he was drawing it and getting, and probably for a year now, he's been posting progress. And in that year's time, some people knew it was me who commissioned it. And those people had approached me to take my spot, paying me double what I paid. And which I refused.
Oh, so they knew already what it was costing you?
Yeah. Oh. Well, no. None of them knew how much it was costing me. Some of them had an idea based on the $2,000 a commission. If you're asking for 8 pieces times 2, it's $16,000. Well, it was more than that, obviously. And so they had a floor to work from. And so I think the last offer I had was $50K, and I still said no.
Okay. Wow.
And that was in pencil format.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean only when it was at the penciling stage, you mean?
Yeah, at the penciling stage a year ago, I was offered $50K to walk away from it and have them take my spot. And I
Oh,
said,
wow.
no. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I've been approached to sell it since, but we haven't even got to the point on money because they know I'm not selling it.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Wow.
I mean, it was
Yeah, that's
5 years
wild.
in making. 5 year waits was the longest commission I ever had that I actually have in my hand. Well, it is completed. I don't physically have it yet.
Yeah, well, that's a very long time. It's not as long as a lot of other people, but definitely ridiculously long for sure. So look at that. Tom thinks it'll hit 200K at auction now after it's published, maybe. If it ends up being if it ended up being published as a series of covers, that would be different than just a poster.
Actually, I apologize. That is the approach. It's not a poster. It's eventually going to be a poster, but they're going to chop it up into 4 covers.
Oh, four different covers.
Yeah,
okay.
That's correct. Yeah, they're going to take certain. Yeah, I forgot that. Thanks for reminding me. So they're going to take certain portions of this and make them into covers. Yes, and then eventually print it as a poster.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, it couldn't be all of it because if you divide this into 4, it just wouldn't fit covers properly, right? So, yeah, they probably want to use some of it. They can't use all of Surtur because he's so damn large, right?
Yeah.
But
we'll
probably
see how they chop it up. They didn't. I'm obviously out of the loop on how they're doing it, but yeah, they're working on something right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty busy and small. I can only imagine how it looks in person.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and so did you didn't mention what's the actual reason why he still has it?
Because I didn't want him to ship it. He wants to ship it with a moving company or something like that, and then insurance and all this stuff. And I'm like, nah, I think this will be an in-person type thing. So even if I wasn't going to go in April after Easter, my brother would. And so my brother would pick it up for me. So, and we have a pickup, it'll go in. But we didn't want to. He didn't want to chance it, and he didn't want to, ship it for less than what it's worth. And so I didn't want to pay an exorbitant amount for some type of shipping. And then he doesn't feel comfortable. Right now, it's in a hard tube, he said it's like a 2-foot round tube right now, and I don't want to send it that way just now.
No, I get it. No. But something like this, you take as much time as you have to till you both settle on some agreement to have it, whatever is going to happen to get it to you in whatever way. Take your time. There's no hurry for that,
Here's a funny story. So I mentioned this to you before. So I want to do an interview with Walter Simonson.
So hold on. Before you say anything, let me quickly get this out of the way. Mark is just asking, is it signed? Because he's watching it on the TV and he says he can't see his signature anywhere.
Yeah, I can't remember where it is, but we discussed that, and I can't remember where it is myself right now either. But I know it's signed.
Ask him. Oh, I was gonna say if he hadn't signed it yet, I was gonna say ask him for that classic dinosaur signature.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Which I asked him about in my interview. So I interviewed him on Friday. It took 2 hours interview, right?
Oh, so you did ultimately do it on Friday? Okay.
Yeah.
So it went well.
I had a great time. And his wife was there too. So, anyways, we're doing this interview. Yes, and we're done, and we're talking about meeting up in 4 weeks. And I go to put it in my computer, and my cat, 10 minutes into the interview, stepped on a button of microphone. And so what happened was it went from a recorded phone call to a microphone, because I could see the sound levels still when I was recording and doing my interview. He doesn't know this, by the way. I haven't told him yet. So the cat pushed the button on microphone, so it was recording me talking into a phone, so you don't hear him after 10 minutes.
Oh, you only got a one-way conversation?
One-way conversation for an hour and 50 minutes. Yeah. And I haven't told him. Unbelievable. We had such a great time too.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I cannot believe it either. It's just because it's a new recorder, and I had it on the floor because it's at my mom's place, and there wasn't an area for it to sit on, so I just put it on the floor where the phone jack was, and the cat came over.
And so, but you're saying you never realized it until after the fact.
Yeah, because I went and looked over, and the sound levels were still going with what I was saying. So you go there to check to make sure it's still recording, So, but the reason why the sound volume was still going is because it was on microphone recording what was going on in the room. So I hear my cat purring and all this crap. So yeah, I haven't told him yet. It's going to be embarrassing.
Oh, that's going to be a tough thing to do. To have to tell him that it was all for nothing or mostly for nothing.
Yeah. Considering we've talked since, I was telling him what a great time. He was very happy with the way it turned out too.
Mark says that you are proof that good things come to those who wait. Living proof. There you go.
Let's hope.
Well, at least with the Walter Commission so far. But hey, don't jinx it yet, Mark. Shaun hasn't received the commission yet. So
that's true. Yeah,
it's done. It's done, but it's not currently in the correct household it belongs to. So yeah, so that's a whole other thing. But Shaun, are you have you decided like how you're gonna approach telling Walter this? Like are you gonna are you even just gonna blow it off, or are you gonna try to squeeze another redo of the interview with him?
I was kind of hoping if you would, on my behalf. No, I'm joking. Yes, I'm going to obviously tell him. I told him on yesterday before I played it on my computer here today. I told him yesterday that I would listen to it on Monday because I'm going to have to do the transcriptions myself, which I'm a one-finger typer. And I told him it's going to take a while, and I would check on the volume because we had a problem in the first 10 minutes because there was a beep and stuff. So that's why I was looking at the recorder the whole time, was to make sure it was, because I fixed the beep. And I told him I would check the volume on Monday to see how it went, and I let him know how it went. So tomorrow I got to tell him the bad news and ask him if he's up to doing his life story again. He does like to talk, he does like to talk. So let's hope that he'll want to do it again, but I won't do it right away. We'll let it sit for a little bit. Maybe I'll do it in person when I see him. If I see him in 4 weeks, I'll probably do it in person. Right.
Were you Marcus says I should play the part of Walter in the recreation. But and Mark says, on behalf of all future buyer of the poster, we doff our caps to you, Shaun. There you go.
Yes. He's been approached by several other fans after that one's been published to do another one. Not a recreation, but another huge commission.
A huge commission? Oh.
Yeah, he's not looking forward to doing that, but you never know. Money talks.
Yeah, it's true. Rick, though, Rick's got kind of a good idea. Rick is saying, tell him about what happened with the cat after you picked up your commission.
Yes.
You never know.
Yeah, who's going to believe that story? You know what I mean? It's I'd have to play it for him, I would think, so he knows I'm telling him the truth, because it did get the first 10 minutes. So yeah. This is not with the cat, but this has happened to me one other time where an entire interview was shot, and it was 25 years ago. It was with Art Saf, and it was one of those sensitive recorders where it would only start recording where there's sound, and so if there was ever a moment of silence between words, it would stop recording. So it would do this spike, and so you'd miss a lot of the interview because it would take a second to reset.
Right.
And yeah, that's the only other time I ever had something like that happen.
Man, that really sucks. Wow. Well, sorry to hear that. At least you have the memory of it. And I hope that he ends up being willing to maybe do it again at some point down the road. By the way, were you gonna transcribe it so that you turn it into like an interview for one of the Tomorrow's magazines or anything like that? Was that what you were doing? Or?
Yeah, so most of these guys I've gotten commissions and recreations from, I've interviewed. So the Rich Buckler, everybody we've mentioned I have a commission from, I've done interviews with. Now, almost all of them haven't been published. I would say 20% of them have been published.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's not because I haven't It's not because they were rejected. It's because I've been not able to get them transcribed and submitted. Like I have a Keith Pollard right now. I just submitted to Comic Book Creator with John Cook. So so some of these, and now that Mike Urey isn't my editor anymore, I don't know the new guys. And so I was very comfortable with Mike Urey. Mike Urey would edit my interviews and make me sound a lot smarter than I am. So it looked like I was actually literate, So not having him around anymore is going to be a problem. And so not only do I do comic book interviews, I also did Hollywood type actors and actresses too. So I have a lot of interviews still in the can that I haven't submitted yet.
Okay.
And Walt Simonson was one of those. I told him up front, I don't have it slated for publication. Everything I've submitted has been published. I'm sure that Comic Book Creator would do this. I haven't asked him yet because I wanted to see how it would go. And more than likely, after I do transcribe it and submit it, they usually come back and ask me to do a follow-up on some specific questions and such. So, yeah, it's a long process, and it pays very little. Very little. You do it because you want to do it. So
I don't know. It's one of those labors of love,
Yeah, I did a Ron Wilson one, by the way. So and I've never submitted it.
Wow.
You have some of those that are really bad that don't get a lot of information. His wasn't one of those, but I'm trying to think if I had a bad interview where I would be embarrassed to submit it. And usually the older guys. It's the older.
Was Ron's like a kind of like stories of how he broke in and from that era?
Yeah, even his own creations. He did a boxing Marvel graphic novel that he was super boxers or something.
Oh, like super boxers, yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about that because it was based off of after this Marvel 2-in-1 experience with the Thing series. And so,
is that right?
Yeah. So he was into boxing, and he was, and I'm going from memory because it's like 8 years ago I did this interview.
Yeah.
But I kind of remember that he was talking about the British stuff that he worked on quite a bit. He did a lot of the covers for them. And he was trying to explain to me that the British comics weren't in the same format size, and so sometimes they had to add artwork to the borders to fill in the page.
Right.
So he was telling me a lot of that type of stuff.
Okay.
And because I knew other people that worked with him, I knew the questions to ask. So some of the like Arbel Jones I interviewed, also Keith Pollard, Arbel Jones, Ron Wilson, that whole community.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of this.
Oh, that's cool.
I've never interviewed John Byrne. And at the time, Jim Warden, is it Jim Warden? That was his rep?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I've never interviewed John Byrne. I never interviewed George Perez either.
Oh, wow. I didn't get to do with George. Wow.
Yeah.
How many artist interviews have you done? Do you know?
I want to say over 60 or 70. So I mean, there's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of lot of them. And that's golden age all the way through bronze.
Yeah. That's over 5 dozen at least. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there's been two that have turned me down for phone interviews. They wanted to do them through email, and that was Trevor Von Eden and Paul Galassi.
Oh, really?
And both of those guys did not want to be recorded.
That was the reason?
Yeah. They didn't want their answers recorded. In case they said something, I guess they would be, they didn't trust the person doing the interview, I would assume.
Yeah.
It's probably based on some past experience.
Yeah. But you know as well as I do, I think we all know, and those of us who have read, interviews done in that style, email style, they suck because obviously all the questions, the initial questions have to be planned out in advance. And you can't ask them anything else based on the answer, how they're answering the answer. You know what I mean? You can't do follow-up questions to what they're already answering as you could live, right? So it's like when you're reading it, you might be reading a good reply, right? It's like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. And then you're thinking, oh, I can't wait to see what the interviewer says next and what he asks him about that next. And then you realize he's asking him a completely different topic, whatever. And that's how you realize, oh, it's because this is all done pre-planned, whatever. And it's all done by email. It's like, yeah, those suck, man. I hate that. But thankfully, I'm glad to hear that it's only a couple of guys that insisted on doing it that way,
Let me tell a Walt Simonson story before I forget this. Okay.
Yeah.
This was pretty funny. In the 70s, when he started in the 72 or 70, 74, back then they would divide up the art between the inker, the artist, and the writer.
Yeah, the writer for 2 pages.
Yeah, for a couple of years they did that, right?
Yeah.
To the point where the artist was like, why are you giving the writer the art pages?
Right.
And he told me this funny story. He said one day Craig Russell was so upset about that, where the artist was, he was told to give the artist 2 pages. So what he did was he took all the word balloons and put them in an envelope and sent them to the writer.
I heard this story. Yeah. I heard that story. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
There you go. All your work is right there. There you got it. I give you all your work. That's awesome.
I hadn't heard that story before, so I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was getting commissions in the early days, I was going through some of these agents also. So some of the agents were like Spencer Beck, like we mentioned, Jeff Jaworski, and Scott Kress was doing several of them. He took over like the Mike Grells and Ramona Fradens and such. But Spencer Beck was repping like Joe Staten and Marshall Rogers back in the early days, and he wasn't very responsive. I don't know what your experience with Spencer Beck has been, but he was, it hasn't improved much either, by the way. And so back in the day, I was trying to get Marshall Rogers, and Spencer Beck was just dragging his ass. And I couldn't get Marshall Rogers to commit through Spencer Beck, and I never had direct contact with Marshall Rogers. With Joe Staten, it got to the point where I just said, screw it, I'm going to call Joe Staten myself. And that's what I did do. And I got a couple of recreations from Joe Staten direct. And sometimes other artists would give me their contact information, especially if I've done work with the artist that gave me the info. So that's how I got direct contact with most of these. So right now, I rarely go through agents anymore. I just go direct to the source.
Well, it's always easier for sure if you can skip through and just have direct, especially for commissions, to get your instructions of what you want them to do. To get that across. It's always best to do it directly, because obviously a middleman, you can't, can you really trust the middleman to, pass along your specific instructions that you want, the important details along to the artist, right? You got to rely on that middleman, and you don't know that they're going to give a crap enough to actually do that and do it correctly. You know what I mean? Do a good job with it. So, yeah. So it's always best if you can go direct. Obviously, that's always the better, Hey, Antoine.
And some of the artists like Bob Hall or Mike Grell or even Jack Morelli or Pat Olaf, they have representation already with Scott Kress. So if they go direct to me, they actually still pay Scott the commission. So they will still give him the commission, that because he's their agent still, even though I'm working with them direct.
By the way, Shaun, your audio now is getting as bad as your video. So I don't know if there's anything maybe you can play around with or
not without endangering cutting you off.
Oh, okay.
I think that, yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end anyways, aren't we?
Yeah, we're wrapping it up anyways. I figured, finishing with Simonson's story for the most part would be the good way to end it all anyways, whatever. So it's all good, man. Yeah. This would be a good point here. It's at 2 hours 45. So yeah, for the first episode, it's good. It's almost 3 hours. It's nice. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if it happens if there's any future ones, but no, this was fun. I think it went well. I hope you liked it. Did you have a good time, man?
To talk about my commissions, of course. I always enjoy it. And if anybody had any questions at the end here, I think we answered most of them. But yeah, overall, my experience with the recreations and commissions has been a positive one.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend, and I think I've said this before, don't try to get commissions and recreations to flip, because it's rarely that you can make money on commissions and recreations. Published artwork will hold up over time. I don't know how commissions and recreations are going to hold up over time. They are cheaper than published art, and I find them more enjoyable, especially if you have the input to them. and I would stay with it. If you have any commissions that you're thinking about with some artists, I would say that try to have some involvement with it. Try to give them an idea of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And just instead of just saying, "Can I have an Iron Man commission?" You can say, "Can I have an Iron Man commission shooting his rays off his fist?" Something like that.
Right. Marcus says that it's for appreciation and not profit. That's what commissioning definitely. I mean, listen, all of it should be, even published art, right? It should be, but you should know going into it, certainly, that if commissioning is the way you want to go, if it interests you more than published work, yeah, you just hopefully you have people around you that tell you that, hey, it just so you know, it may be difficult to get back out of it if you plan on maybe selling it after your commissions after a few years or whatever, and it's not always easy to get your money back, let alone profits on top of it. So yeah, I mean, as long as
if you're too special and you ask for specific commissions, they'll be tougher to sell later. So if you're doing stuff like, I want Batman on a gargoyle, there was some guy doing gargoyles everywhere, and if you don't like gargoyles, you're not going to be buying commissions from this guy. In fact, he had this one collector who had all his Batmans on gargoyles by various artists. I didn't like the theme, so he had them done, some of them done by some great artists, but I just didn't like the theme, so I did not want those myself. So when you're too specific, you cut a lot of your potential buyers out too. So you make sure you don't go too specific with your requests.
Right. Yeah. Ian says, thank you for sharing, Shaun. Love seeing the art and hearing about the heartache and the triumph. Thanks for the show. It's been great. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ian. Please post some pictures, Shaun, once the piece is on the wall, buddy. Was here, but doing some collection room straightening. Nice, Carl. You can cut the bottom. He can afford it. The guy's a lawyer. He can afford it? Who's a lawyer? Who are you talking about? You lost me there.
Yeah, Ari's the guy. That's right.
Oh,
Caesar mentioned the collector that had all the gargoyles.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a lawyer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeffrey, thank you. Welcome again, and thank you for tuning in here. Jeffrey, if you are a commission collector or commission collectors, please let them know about the show. If you can, point them to it and let them know that I don't really know commission collectors who are, people who are primarily commission collectors. Let them know I'm happy to showcase as many collectors. I'd like this to become an ongoing, occasional, recurring series. And I'm always looking to have new people who've never been on my channel as guests before. So spread the word if you can, please. And so, hey, Mike, so preacher commissions aren't a good investment? They probably are, given how popular preacher art is. I don't know. I'll plead the fifth on that one. I think let's put it this way, Mike. I think personally there's a lot worse types of commissions you could get in terms of, more likely to lose you money than preacher. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it there, Or every character with Mjolnir. Yeah. Thank you, Marcus. Got that. The Mark Gargoyle guy. I also enjoy Shaun's process of funding and refunding his Bix box. Something in collections. Our space commissions are the best. Like Stingray, right? We'll do. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I have a lot of Captain Marvel. I mean, the character itself is okay. Having the character with something else is the problem. So there's other Stingray collectors like me. I have Captain Marvel collection of Captain Marvels. So that's okay by collecting by theme. It's what you add to the piece that might be the distractor.
Right.
Having Captain Marvel or it's Stingray with Batmite or something. It's something that right. One or two people will appreciate.
Right. Exactly. CJ's clearing it up. He said, I also enjoy Shaun's process of funding and refunding his business and collections. How you use the art fund your business and all that stuff, you know? Yeah. Worse, like 37 everything commissions. What's 37 everything? What the hell? I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. But guys, let me quickly, before you all take off, because I didn't do this at the beginning. I wasn't going to do it for 1 week because I just figured, okay, this is the first episode of what I'm hoping to become a series. I just wanted to get into it right away. But, you know, since we did it in under 3 hours, let me do the promos real quick. Got a couple of promos. Of course, Nikki B, please, everyone, if you can check out Nikki B's show, the EXP, every Friday on YouTube at youtube.com/the EXP. That'd be great. It's a chat show / art claim show. So yes, please do check that out if you can. Here's the man himself. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. All right. And let me get Carl, who's still here with us, I think. He did comic art unboxing episode. They're short videos. So he did his 40th unboxing. All right. So let me pop a quick link to that one in here. Here you go. Check this out. All right. That's for his unboxing number 40. And then he also, as always, as usual, he has a couple of episodes, couple of videos per week. He did his 29th episode of Bagged and Boarded, where he reviews the comics that he reads, that he picks up at the store every week. And you can check that one out here at this direct link. All right. And Jerry, see, this is proof positive that nobody bothers to read my descriptions. So if you go down below in the description of the video, Jerry, look beneath the description, and right beneath the description, after it ends, you're going to see links. And it'll be links it'll be the first link you'll see is to Shaun's calf gallery. And yeah, there you go. It's a direct link. So you click it, it'll open up, and I believe it should open up in a new window. But I guess that depends on your browser. So there you go. And let me see what else is there. Talk to you later, TJ. Thanks for dropping in and hanging out with us. TJ, yes, his name is Shaun Clancy. So you can search it the long way if you want, but I put the links down there for a reason, for the people who don't want to, take any time to do that sort of thing. Bagged and Boarded is a fun show. It sure is. And good props to Carl on that one. I guess he took off. Link in the description. It certainly is. Yes, it is. It always is, though, Jerry. Every show I've ever done on my channel, if you look under the description, any guests will have their links there. So, yeah, something for you to know. You can always rely on me putting that. Ruben, don't say everybody. What about what? What do you mean? What did I say? Sorry. I'm going quick here, CJ. Will you rent the U-Haul to drive to Walt Simonson's house? Why would he do that? So he could fit the big piece in?
Well, I actually have an F-150 pickup, so
You've got your F-150?
Yeah.
Okay. No. But when I say everybody, it means the majority. CJ, you know that. All right. There's obviously exceptions to every rule. You know that. Rick says 24-inch sono tube and duct tape will be perfect for the Simonson piece. Never heard of it.
You know what's funny is Walt was telling me that the Hildebrands used this same tube. This was one of their tubes. He went to their house and grabbed this tube that they would send their paintings in.
Oh, really?
Overseas, and he says they've never had an issue with it. I said, well, I still don't want to chance it.
But, but Shaun, I'm assuming, given that they were painters, I'm assuming that they were probably painting on canvas, right?
Yes, I would think.
Yeah. Canvas is very easy to roll up and not damage, but cardboard, right? Like bristle board. It's not that it'll get damaged, but it tends to keep the shape of being rolled up if it's rolled up for too long. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. But canvas will unroll properly, no problem. You know what I mean? Because it's thicker and it's heavier. Yeah, it doesn't keep the shape of the curl. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
It can crease. Or a high flux capacitor with a Telefunken U47. Nice, CJ. But anyways, everybody, thank you very much. I should let you know all also before we leave that I've got nothing for next week, and I got to be honest with you because you guys know I'm always honest. I mean, it's not like a secret. Those of you who've been watching every week, I've mentioned it's been getting harder and harder for me to find guests, and it's exhausting and doing all the work, especially for shows that I got to do, slides and all these pieces. Collecting all the, spending time collecting pieces, searching for pieces, turning them into slides, blah blah blah. I'm mentally exhausted by it all. The fact that I never take time off, and so and especially looking for guests has become so hard that part of the process is becoming a real pain in my ass. Which is why I want to do kind of more shows like this. That I'm hoping maybe. Like for this, I'm hoping if I can reach out and get the attention of the commission collecting community so that they realize, hey, we have something for us finally, a show that's going to be about what we do, commission collecting. The hope is that they hear about it enough that they would come to me and ask, hey, let me be on your show. Let me be on your show. So I could do this every now and then, and that would be an extra show every time that I don't have to do a ton of, behind the scenes work for. Because I'm fried, my brain is fried, I'm exhausted anyways. Bottom line is, I've got nothing for next week. So I was thinking I may just take next week off. I have nothing for next week or any other week after. So tonight was it. And I got to tell you guys also, I'm so kind of like, it's just worn on me so much mentally that over the last 10 to 12 days, have not even made an effort to reach out to a single person to see if they want to be on the show, even for next week, even though it's a week away now. Yeah, I haven't done anything. So like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm burned out. I feel really burned out. So I may not do anything next week. More likely, if I do anything, John will go through withdrawal. Who? Me? Maybe. You, I don't know. Speak for yourself, But let me see. Hold on. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention to the paper fibers break too. Yeah, exactly. Will you be framing the piece? And oh my God, bring Stingray on. Well, he will eventually. We got to talk. He's gonna have to reach out to me. No. Well, that's the thing though. If I know, but if I don't do slides, Tom. If I don't do slides, right here, so check this out.
What do you think about just doing this?
I'll be honest, right? So before I started the channel and I was looking at my options, I was like, okay, there's slides, and I chose slides because they look the most professional and you could see the art the best. But of course, I had the other options of what you just did, which is, okay, just let the collector prepare the 20 pieces. But that means I would have to tell them in advance what pieces have been chosen. And then we get rid of the spontaneity aspect of it. So that's not as fun. One thing, Shaun, that everybody tells me who have done show and tell, everybody agrees that they love the fact that I pick because, well, not only do they have to not spend time to pick themselves, but they also love the spontaneity and the surprise of not knowing what's going to be shown, So that's the other thing, and it's the least good looking, and especially tonight's a good example. Tonight, given what happened with the Wi-Fi connection, it would have been a really bad time to be doing show and tell because we couldn't really see your art very well, And then the third option was doing this, which is what Tom is basically saying. Just show the artwork, but not putting it next to the published art, with the information on the slide and making the slide. But look what happens. My guest and I are on screen, and then it pops up, and this is what happens. Check it out. I mean, it's weird, part of me. It depends on how I'm sitting or how my guest is sitting, right? It's going to be covering half of our faces, or it just, I don't find it looks good. So it's better than just having the guest show the art into the camera, but I don't know. It just still doesn't look good as slides. So that's the thing, is that, I just need to figure out more ways to give my time back to myself. And let me just say, that's what I did over the last 10, 12 days, is not only did I not make an effort to look for anybody and make any plans for any future shows beyond tonight, I spent the last 10 to 12 days, for the first time in a long time, reading. I read some comics. I watched the entire season of the last season of Cobra Kai, which I had completely forgotten about, because all my free time is spent, doing these weekly shows. And I watched a 4-part documentary on kids being abused in Hollywood. So I finally reclaimed some of my time. It felt great to finally read comics, watch TV. Oh my God, it feels so good. So I can tell you, it would be very, very easy for me to just sort of fall into a habit where if I miss even 1 week of my Sunday night YouTube show, I could see how easily the habit could possibly become permanent. And those of you who used to watch channels over the years on YouTube, and then after a while, suddenly that channel was gone, they stopped making content, it's probably because of that. That's what happens a lot. People get burned out, they stop, and then once you stop, it's that routine of like, oh God, it feels so good to not have to do anything anymore, and then they just sort of, forget it. I guess I'm not going to do it. Look at Kavi. Kavi used to do regular, pretty regular content on his channel. I mean, he was doing original art content before anybody even knew that he was doing it. And then he got burned out, whatever. He needed to take a break, took a break, and then he pretty much never kind of got back to it. So yeah, it would be very easy for that to happen. I don't want that to happen, but something has to give. And right now, I'm going to give, just saying at the ready, right? Have Nick on. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to always have the same people on, but people don't want to see the same people over and over and over. That's why I got to get new people too as well, If I get people that I've already had in the past, like Shaun here, it's okay as long as we're doing something different. So I did Shaun's show and tell, and it wasn't not a commission focused show and tell. So that's why it's great. I could bring him back for this commission series, because that's another part of what he does. So that's why that works, But I don't want to start, if I can avoid it. I'd like to avoid having, for as long as I can, I want to avoid having the same people who've already done published art show and tells for more published art show and tells. Like, I want to avoid that if I can, So I know it's not football season yet. It's far from it. Have you put out the word in some of the Facebook sketch groups? I haven't. And I thought about it, Mike, but I hate Facebook. The reason being because in the past, for this channel, for my channel, right, for these shows that I've been doing for almost 3 years now, I got into the original art groups, and they got pissed off, and they're just like, I'm like, oh, can I announce my show this week or whatever? It's for the whole community. It's to benefit the community. No, we'd rather not have that. Nah, we just want it to be for, publishing, posting artwork from people's collections. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, if your own hobby, they don't even see the big picture, and they're so like narrow-minded about these things that they don't want to help do their tiny part to help push what those of us like me who are trying to make an effort to do things for everybody else. If they don't even want to help with that, then that's why I was like, fuck that. Like, I'm not going to go on and start joining groups that I don't belong to already on Facebook, like commission groups or whatever. For what? So the same shit happens and they tell me, no, we'd rather not, or they get pissed off. Like, forget it. I'm like, forget it. And that's why I'm saying, if anybody watching here, especially those of you, that most of you watch this on Rewind, if you're watching this and you're listening to me say this, if you're interested in commissions, if you know people who are primarily commission collectors, and if you happen to know, especially if you're part of these Facebook type groups, please put the word out for me on my behalf. Let those people, point them, just give them a link or something. Give them a link to this episode tonight, and let them know. Tell them I'm not going to be reaching out personally to people to do, to new people who I don't know, to do more of these episodes. If this is going to become a recurring episode, series, I should say, I'm going to need commission collectors to reach out to me, and ask me if they can be on, and then we can talk. I'd be happy to. So that's it. You, John, will maybe go through withdrawal. That's possible. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not saying for sure I'll be gone, but I can tell you as far as next week goes, at this point, even if somebody reached out and said tomorrow, hey, I'll do a show and tell with you on Sunday, I don't know if I'm going to have time or the desire to want to do all the work to get it done, because it's stressful when I have to do it in the last few days before Sunday. It's really stressful, and that's the thing. That's what makes it not fun for me anymore. And I need to do things where I don't have so much prep work to do, because that way it's not so stressful. I love coming here on a Sunday, and if I could come here every Sunday and hang out with you guys and just show up, just like my guests do, just show up on Sunday without having to do any prep work, I would love that. I would never be stressed. Oh, I would love that every week. And that's why I told you guys over the last few weeks on a couple of occasions, I mentioned that I would love it if I could figure out a way to do more content where it's like at least 2, if not 3, out of every month's episodes, 2 or 3 out of every 4, just more chat shows with maybe a little bit of art like we did tonight, where I don't have to, maybe, I can show some art, a little bit of art without making, having to make them into slides and whatnot. But yeah, 2 or 3 out of every 4 episodes where it's mostly chatting with a bit of art. And then maybe once a month, a full-blown show and tell where I do the whole slide thing or whatever. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to see if I can figure out a way to do that, It was a great one. Will you be syndicated? Probably not. I will get to it soon, Stingray. Marcus, he's never going to show. You could bring your framer on the show. No, he wouldn't do it. Take them off and recharge. Please take care of yourself. We appreciate everything. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that, Ian. But I don't want to purposely take it off. That's the thing. Like I said, if I purposely were to take it off, I am very afraid I would easily get accustomed to having, my Sundays off, which means I would have every day of the week off because I wouldn't have anything to prepare for. And that would be very easy to just, I can start reading and watching movies and TV again. I want to find the balance. I want to try to find the balance, because that's what I'm trying to do, do it drunk. That's the X factor you're missing. That would be great. First break in over 3 years, very sad. Again, it hasn't happened yet. Like I said, Tom, if I'm just telling you, don't expect much next week. And next Sunday, if I show up, it'll just be to hang out and see what you guys want to talk about. We'll shoot the shit like we've done in the past. We haven't done that in a while. Rewinders don't tend to like that. They don't seem to care about that kind of stuff, but whatever. I do need some sort of break. And if it means just coming in and just shooting the breeze about comics, hey, what have you guys been reading lately? What have you been watching lately? It's fun. I like doing that. Again, rewinders don't seem to care, and so I'll get a lot less views for those types of episodes. But I do not need the root beer float pick me up. Thank you, though. I appreciate it, Marcus. I don't know who you're asking if they have a toupee, though, but I don't have a toupee. It's real. I don't know who you're asking. Catch up on your favorite Harrison Ford movies. Cobra Kai never dies. Exactly. By watching kids get abused. It was a very good 4-part documentary, I must say. It's all about Nickelodeon in particular, by the way. Yes, there was only one, Ripken and Lou Gehrig. You could do a heritage recap. Yeah, but that still involves me having to go and pick like 10 pieces, or I don't like if it's the same thing as they do in Comic Art Live, why would I do it? Like, what's the point, right? That's the thing, Caesar. I don't want to do what they're doing. What's the point of having a different channel if you're doing the same thing somebody else is doing, right? Now, we've done a couple of those episodes where it was, okay, me and 2 guests each pick 10 pieces that we liked from the last Heritage auction. We've done that. But that still takes preparation. We each need to go and look through the entire auction and pick the 10 pieces. So there's still prep to be done for that. Less than usual, but it still takes some amount of prep, Hart should discuss his new life with only 50 pieces. Well, Hart, I got to get Hart on to do more of the on this series to see. And I asked him to see if he wants to tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. Remember, guys, Hart was the guy who said, out of my 100+ commissions, only 25 of them were like good experiences, right? Yeah. So.
And he was going to sell, wasn't he? Going to sell some?
Yeah. He did it on my channel. He did a couple of sales shows to try to sell some of the art. We sold a few pieces, not too much, whatever.
Not the commissions. I thought it was just the published stuff.
That's right. But we did a show for the commissions, but not for the sales of the commissions. Not for the sales of the commissions. No, just a show and tell for the commissions. Yeah, but not a sales show for the commissions. I have been selling lately a few pieces, some of his stuff on my website, actually. So actually, his sales have been going pretty decent. So I'm helping him get rid of some of his collection. It's shrinking slowly but surely. But yeah, all in good time. Josh says, hey, Josh who? Enjoy your break. You have a great show. Thank you. If someone is interested in or would know an artist who might be willing to be a guest, how would they go about it? What do you mean? If someone is interested or would know an artist who's willing to be a guest. Oh, if you know somebody, for them to be on my show, I've thought about the idea of, and people have asked me before, do you want to get a artist on or whatever, but I've resisted up until now because artists are typically, they always expect the same thing. They're so used to doing the same thing over and over, which is they want to be interviewed. They're going to get interviewed. And they're going to get interviewed and ask the same old questions every time about, the projects they did that they're most famous for and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to do that. So if I could come up with an idea that would be totally different with an artist, right, then I would love that, right? Like I thought one of the ideas I thought of is, maybe trying to get some artists who I know are collectors of original art and see if they would want to do, a show and tell or whatever. But that just solves the problem of if I could do that, it'll give me, something different. It doesn't solve my problem of, reclaiming some of my free time back. That's the problem. Because now for an artist who's a collector, I would want to do a proper show and tell with slides and everything, So that's the thing. But if you know an artist, just reach out to me yourself before you reach out to them, Josh. Okay, before you reach out to anybody, because no offense, I don't want to just take any random person. Okay, I want to hear about the idea first. So if you have some ideas to throw my way, here, or you know what? Yeah. There, see there, Ruben the Collector. So it's my name at Gmail, easy to remember. Reach out to me and let's talk. And Caesar, I do. But like I said, I'm just scared that it might go away permanently. That's the thing, and I don't want that to happen.
I don't want to be your last show. Don't blame me for that.
No, definitely. I definitely don't want you to be my. Like I said, I don't want it to be the last show. That's for sure. I'm see the thing is, Tom, card guys, I'm not. I still have to do something that I'm interested in. Okay, and you hear me say, well, I'm not a commission guy. I'm not interested in collecting commissions, but I'm fascinated by all the trials and tribulations that collectors go through in getting commissions. So it's of interest to me from that respect, you know. But card art guys, you know, I do a show and tell with somebody who had like card art from, you know, those collections where they did quality painted art, but I wouldn't want to do a show and tell of card art collections of some of these, like, you know, the ones that you get in these packs that are just by these no-name artists or whatever. I wouldn't want to do that. No offense, you know, whoever likes to collect those, more power to them, but they don't interest me. And so I have to have at least some level of interest in it, you know? It's not a rant. I'm just letting you know in advance what may or may not happen because of, you know, what's been going on with me. I'm letting you know where I am in my life at this moment, DeMarcus. I'm not ranting, or maybe it sounds like it's coming off like a rant, but it's not. I just want you to know what I'm feeling and what's going on with me. That would be sick. Angelo. Yeah, holy crap. That'd be crazy. I thought of it, by the way. I thought of it, but I kind of like, I was like, oh, I don't know. You know, I kind of blew it off pretty quickly, you know. Hey, Ian, how you doing? Better to be burnt out than to fade away. Exactly. I don't want to fade away. I want Angelo and Sarah. Ron Wilson feels the same way, Ruben. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. I have Ron Wilson on, yeah. Bring Angelo and Alex Maleev on. Reach out to Robert Dennis. So, yeah, you guys are really helpful. And then you wonder why I'm losing my mind here, you know? Hang out with Ladwig. Yeah, he hasn't been on in a long time. But as you noticed, he tends to leave early. And he's been leaving early for a few months now. So, yeah, that ship has sailed, Marcus. You know, that ship has sailed, man. She doesn't even do content on her own channel, let alone, you know. And hey, another good example, right? What I was saying before. People get hot, they get popular. You start listening and watching their stuff on YouTube, and eventually, oh, look at that. Suddenly they're gone, right? Good example. So, head of the class. Yeah, that guy, Dan Schneider. Someone sold a James LeMay cover on Heritage. Looks like it did pretty good. Congratulations to that guy. EVS, yeah, that'll go over like a lead balloon, right? Then I'll probably get my channel shut down by YouTube probably because of what he says. Talk about the artist's favorite donuts. Yeah, you guys are so helpful as always. Awesome, sounds great. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. No pressure, of course, but yeah, if you got some ideas, I'm always happy to listen to other collectors and ideas and stuff and chat about them for sure, you know. I always am, CJ. Talk about new movies and shows every other week. Like I said, though, I do this not only for me and for you regulars, but I do it thinking of everybody, right? The rewind people. So I mean, I want everybody to kind of be interested in watching. That's the thing, you know. And as we've proven in the past, not many people care about the movie, TV show type stuff, you know. Start a Patreon? No, I can't ask people to give me money. I can't. I would never do that. How many of us will pay for the show? Yeah. No. You know, as you guys, we talked about it. When I hit at 500 subscribers, you're allowed to activate this this thing where people can contribute the super chats and whatever, you know, where they give you $5, $10, $20, whatever. I've never activated that. Come on, like I'm not going to ask for other people to fund me. That's crazy. Although I got to say, my streaming software annual service, they got bought out by a new company. I just found out recently. Yeah, and the cost is almost doubling. It's going to cost me close to $10 per episode, just for the streaming software. Like it's like what the hell, man. But anyways, that's not, you know, I'm willing to pay that if I can, you know, not be so stressed out and still come here every week and have fun with everybody. Angelo signed that poster for you. I know he did. You saw Karen in the cat chat? Are you serious? Are you being serious? What was she saying? I don't believe you. She has to put her kids to bed. No time. That's right. I know she's busy with her family, like she always says. I have not watched Daredevil yet. No, hey, come on. I just did the Cobra Kai thing. My next thing hopefully will be the Daredevil. Don't forget Daredevil Netflix, the last season 3. I haven't done that one yet. You know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jerry. Holy shit. Well, I'm gonna take the cheapest one, and that'll be like $4.60 or something, whatever. Yeah. Still, it's a lot of money. Might as well stream for 6 hours. You're being serious? Okay, whatever. Okay. She was on Bill's show, yes. In the chat, just watching and commenting in the chat. Oh, boy. Just so you know, there's no other streaming show or podcast that I watch regularly. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lee, man. Thank you so much.
Same here.
On the fishing.
You're the only one I watch, too, Ruben.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. Oh, that's very nice. But there must be a better reason than that. Not just because I'm so awesome.
No, it's entertaining. First off, you're a good sport. You'll take all the insults in the chat.
You see, guys?
Yeah.
You see, guys? Shaun just said it. You guys abuse me so much, and I'm a good sport, and I take it all. Exactly. Thank you, Shaun. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Somebody who understands my pain, you know. But no, I mean it's fun, you know. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the camaraderie there that makes it so fun. That's why I love to be here every week. Like I said, it's not that I'm tired of being here and doing the show itself. You know,
No,
I would have no problem at all showing up every Sunday at 8:00 and going live if I had no preparation to do ever. Like that would be I could do that for years and years and years. I'd do that, you know, forever. Yeah, that'd be the best. It's just, yeah, it's like I spend anywhere from 15 to 30 hours a week.
Wow.
Believe it or not, doing the prep work. And that includes everything. That's all the things you don't typically think about, which is, you know, the time I spend looking through CAF, let's say, and then reaching out to people to try to ask them if they want to be on, you know, and then when I finally get somebody to agree, you know, okay, let me go and spend a few hours looking through their artwork, you know, and then, okay, putting the artwork together, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's 15 to 30 hours for every time. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. You don't need to watch the last season. Hey, by the way, guys, ask Karen. How come ask her if she's got some time. Ask her next time if she shows up in the chat. Ask her. And by the way, did she talk to any of you guys? Did she say hello to any of you? Yeah, ask her. Tell her that you'd like to see her pop in here once in a blue moon. You don't need to. Yeah, but you know me. I'm a completist, and I heard it was good, so I want to see that. You know. Just you, Bill, Nick shows, and Carl's. You watch everything, Marvel fan. Good old Tom. He does take it, Sean, but he gives it out plenty also. Yeah, exactly. Well, I have to, you know. My favorite time is Sunday night. Yeah, you're such a liar. You're always on Comic Art Live all week long, 5 episodes a week. And you're going to tell me that Sunday night is your favorite time? I don't believe it. But I do appreciate you always being here, Tom. You know that. True Stingray, I know I can drive Ruben crazy. You do sometimes, but you're a good guy, so that's why I allow it, you know. She did say, "Oh, okay, good. At least it wasn't mean about it or whatever." You know. Yes, there you go. Okay. I said hello. Only made a few comments. Okay. Matt Kennedy on speed dial. Anyways, thank you guys for allowing me, as Marcus says, to rant. But yeah, I will see you guys next week more than likely. All right. But like I said, it's like at this point, it's 98% chance that it's just going to be hanging out and shooting the breeze about whatever, and that'll be that. We'll see what there is to talk about, you know. Yeah, so that's it. Shaun, once again, thank you. Not only tonight, but even the previous appearances that you've made. I really appreciate it, man. I always love talking to you, and yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun getting your stories, and you're such a laid back dude, you know. So. Yeah, I like you're the kind of person I like to talk to all the time. So if I can get more people like you, that'd be great, you know.
I enjoy the show. Keep going. I'll see
All
you
right.
next week, right? See you next week.
I appreciate it. Stay with me for a second while I say goodnight to everybody. And then
Sure.
I'll let you go. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So just come. So I probably will, Tom. I probably will. And we'll probably do that. I could use just a relaxing hangout and just shooting the breeze. Although, as I always say, even to do that, I always wish I had somebody in the chat with me, because it's just hard to just talk and never hear a voice talking back, you know? You know me exactly, CJ, right? You know me. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate it. #1 Simonson fan. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. So yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate it as always. And like I said, don't forget to catch Nikki on Friday. Good night to you, Rick. Thank you. And come back next week. I'm sure we will do a hangout, a relaxed hangout, and we'll chat then. All right. Thanks again, and as always, go blue.